All right. We are diving once more into the news with the sort of steely, grim determination of an American private landing at Iwo Jima. All right. We've got our we're locked in. Okay. What's up, everyone? I'm trying new stuff with my hair. If it looks fucky, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Navy again, I see. I love this short sleeve Henley so much. I love it. Bear discourse, bear discourse. Okay. Israel gives Hamas a... okay. I said, man. Bosh, that seems like a polo. Polos have a collar. Why did I actually watch Hasan last night? Whatever disagreements we have with Hasan, I hope you would all understand the importance of allying, at least in concept, over something as important as these student protests, you know? Ruben, you got something to say? Oh, I heard a little warble. Hold on. He's all curled up on top of a big box of ammunition. All right. I saw a substance soda. Holy based? Yeah, he's protecting it. Yeah, and he's really protecting it. Well, I'm glad he's having fun. Just link it, Orbit. Why would you ask that? Oh, he's so fast. Ha. Oh, man. I tried to get him. Oh, man, my hair really is being wacky right now. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Okay. El Critro, foiled once again. I hate this bear discourse. Yeah, let's get the easy stuff out of the way, okay? Okay, so there's been like a meme hypothetical going around lately that has led to a lot of discourse, even discourse that occasionally affects me in my timeline, all right? And it's the classic man or bear discourse, all right? So the hypothetical is, if you're a woman wandering around in the forest alone and you see something, would it be worse if that something was a man or a bear? And this has led to a bunch of women saying they would rather see a bear, because if you encounter a man out alone in the forest, you know, what's the thing? The worst thing a bear can do is kill you? What does this video say? I haven't seen this video. Somebody just linked this.
The bear or man in the woods thing was never actually a would you rather question. I know because I'm the one who started it, and I figured I'd use this tag to clarify some things. On March 12th, I ended a video by saying, if you're alone in the woods, seeing a man is 10 times scarier than seeing a bear. Someone commented on that video saying, no, seeing a bear is so much scarier than seeing a man, bro. I responded to that comment laying out why women are more scared of men than the bear, and that response went viral on the 19th. This topic started trending.
Oh my god, please, one of Fortuna's friends is losing his mind over this hypothetical because I think it made him realize he's kind of an incel. Genuinely, the reason this discourse is valuable is because all the guys who are like, I don't get it, why would you judge men like that? That's not right. It's like a big red flag, like, fucking mounted over them, you know? It's pretty obvious to, like, understand this if you think about it and understand what women go through, okay? It's not a literal objective, like, well, who has the greater swing strength? You know, a bear weighs, on average, 212 pounds more than a man. You know, like, that's not the point, okay? The point is, like, what do men have to be like to women for them to appear to be a greater, like, threat or, like, a greater, like, predation, you know? or a greater source of predation than a fucking bear. It's pretty obvious. If you'd seen the way the average man looks at me when he sees my tits, you'd pick the bear too. Yeah, like every woman has a story of men treating them horribly. Few have stories of bears treating them horribly. It's pretty obvious why people would answer the way they do, you know? Like, it's not, because I see people get, like, really, really, really defensive over this, you know what I mean? It's just, like, the whole point is just, like, wow, man, guys are scary, you know? But, like, the guys who are like, I'm not scary, you know, you're doing, like, the not all men thing, kind of.
Ending and growing for a few weeks, and then it really blew up with the street interviews. I never presented it as a would you rather question because I already knew that women were picking the bear and men were picking the man. My whole page is trying to get people who look like me to empathize with and understand the life experiences of people who don't look like us. So my intention here was to get men to think about why the world looks so different for women.
I was recently at a wedding, and after all of the formalities were done, people were dancing, and I was sitting down because I don't dance that often, you know, or at all, because I suck at it. And I noticed that all the guys were out there dancing. All the women were dancing holding their drinks. And, you know, I didn't really think about it. And I hadn't been to a wedding in quite a while. So later I was like, oh, yeah, they were all holding their drinks. And then my friend was like, oh, well, yeah, that's because, like, if you leave your drink alone as a woman, you don't understand. Every woman was holding their drinks. This was at a wedding, too, not even like a bar or whatever. I recently went on a date where I went to a bar with a cute girl, and she was like, "Oh man, the last time I went in a bar, I had to like go home early because my friend had been roofied, you know? Like I had to like fucking pull her out of the bathroom and like get her back home." And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is like your entire life. It's your whole life. I don't have to think about anything, you know? Literally like zero thought in my head like about any of this crap at all. I can be like so chill. You know, a significant portion of the life of a woman is being credibly informed about the threat of predation against them. So given those circumstances, like, yeah, I don't think they spend as much time being warned about bears, you know? Like, that's it, and this isn't a not all men thing or whatever. It doesn't have to be all men. But what's that thing? Like, every woman knows a woman who's been raped, but no man knows a rapist or something like that. Like, it's not just like whether or not all guys are like that. It's how many men are not only not like that, but are aware of the extent to which it happens and so on, you know? That's why I really like Beastars. Haru is great rep as a girl who is seen as nothing but prey to use by the average being around her. It seems dramatic in a show, but I was like, damn, Haru has rape trauma. Yeah. It's fucking edgy-ass show, but like not illegitimately, right? Like, you know, definitely something is being said there. Is this because of internet make men scarier? I think women are taking it 10% too far. You think that, Benjamin, because you're a young man. But no. If anything, the like perceived threat has probably gone down with time. You know, like women are more comfortable being around men or doing this or doing that than they used to be, you know? Really? Yes. Advice for asking a girl out if you're autistic? Be a bear. Scratch your back against a tree.
That they would actually choose the bear. And my challenge to any man watching who picks the man in this scenario is, can you get yourself to a place where you would rather pick the bear? Can you get to that level of understanding?
This is a good video, actually. This is, I expected this to be more like engagement, bait, outrage, farming. This video actually seemed like this, he's saying what I would like want him to say from the outside perspective about, you know.
Because if you can bring yourself to understand why they choose the bear, congratulations. You've experienced 1% of 1% of 1% of what they experience every day of their lives.
All right, a little soy, but that's okay.
And you experienced it for 2.5 minutes.
All right, you know, that's okay. We can be a little soy when we're making a feminist point. We talk about how holding some prejudice isn't inherently a bad thing. Everyone holds prejudice. The only question as to whether or not prejudice is harmful is if it's harmful. Like, prejudice is not in and of itself. Where are my slippers? God damn it. Not making a point with cold feet. Prejudice is like neutral in and of itself, you know? The question is like, are you enabling harmful social norms? Like, what are the consequences of what you're doing? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Trust me, the world is not made a worse place by women being more careful about potentially being raped by men. Vosh, I've been raped by a woman and sexually assaulted by more women than I have been by men. If I say this publicly, I get laughed at, saying I'm lying. If I tried women based on my trauma, if I tried women based on how my trauma makes me treat them as a threat, I'd be mocked. Yeah, because a lot of people don't really take the idea that women can rape seriously. I mean, obviously you should do whatever you feel you need to keep yourself safe. Mr. Lin, you don't have to push back against it at all. It's just a thought experiment. There's nothing, no men are being hurt by this, you know? I think that, like, men who are made to feel insecure about this should kind of, like, explore why, because I don't think it's that difficult to, I don't know, understand at the very least or sympathize with. You don't, it's not like a not all men thing or whatever, you know? It's just like a play. Look, the fact that a lot of women are saying bear is a fact. Like, that, the fact that that is happening is, you know, so like there's two ways to go about that. You can either go like, wow, women sure are hysterical and over the top about the threat of men, which is like certainly a direction you can take it, or you can go like, you know, I wonder what underlying problems are causing that, you know? What you? Exactly, Ellen DeGenerate. Vosh's chat sounds very reactionary, right wing whenever women's issues are discussed. No, it's not that bad. There's just a lot of like, you know, young guys in my. There's a lot of young guys on the internet who just don't like. A lot of it is just an empathy thing, you know. You can't magically get an entire community of thousands and thousands of people to like instantly intuitively understand, uh, you know, every like all of these like empathy based problems, you know. Hmm. Vosh, I seriously thought bear meant as a fat, gay, chubby person. Okay. I take a lot of education classes for my major, and in my social justice and education class, I hear a lot of women talk about the experience being a woman sometimes sounds terrifying. Yeah, no kidding. Um, it's fucking it's crazy out there, man. I literally saw this on Twitter right before I started streaming. This right here. For the love of God, please just put me in the room with the bear. And it's on Snapchat. And the lady says, my grandma died less than a month ago, and then my other grandma died 5 days ago, so I'm just really sad today. I used to call her on Thursdays. And then the guy says, I'm sorry, darling. If you want to vent or talk at all, I'm here. Thanks. Would having some sex help? Now that right there is male Riz. Now that's a man in the forest Riz move right there. This happens all the time. This happens literally all the time for women. Like nonstop, constantly, like day in, day out shit like this, you know? Like any interactions with men, like constantly. Like this is like borderline the norm, I feel. I don't think it's always this like upfront, but this basic vibe. I think at the end of the day, like the argument is basically if you encounter a bear in the forest, it'll probably see you as an equal because you're like a big human. And if you encounter a man in the forest as a woman, they'll almost certainly think of you as prey. That like even if guys aren't necessarily intent on engaging in predation, like the idea of like man predator, woman prey is fucking hardline ingrained in a ton of dudes' heads, and it influences their behavior with women like nonstop, you know? Now, if it's a polar bear, yes. If the hypothetical was man or polar bear in the woods somehow, then I think maybe those stupid bitches would change their tune real fucking quick. If it was a polar bear, they'd go, "Man, man, please, man," as they get mauled to death. Yeah, that would show them, you know. Yeah, that's true. I wonder why it is that women are so terrified of men that when men are most likely to be murdered by a man, why aren't men equally terrified of men? Because when men murder each other, it's not really like a predator-prey dynamic. It's not like predation or men going out of their way to like stalk or hurt men. It's usually like gang violence or like general criminality or people like fighting over bars or murdering each other and stuff. Think about it. Think about it like objectively for a second, okay? We're talking about a murder dynamic where you basically have the two sexes, and one of them is significantly less dangerous than the other, and the men are often like incredibly irrational and violent. Wouldn't you, in both cases, also be more afraid of the guy? You know? But like as a guy, you see other men as equals. You know, to you, the machismo, like, oh, they're strong and violent. Well, so am I. You know, like bullshit. That's like the default mind to a lot of guys. Like this stupid grug, like, you know, oh, well, they're violent. Well, I'll protect my girl. You know, whereas it's like what's that thing in patriarchy? It's not men versus women. It's men versus men, and women are the ball, right? Where like they're not even like the opponent. They're just the thing you control as you pursue the goal, you know, something like that. That's like an old line, but you know, it's still pretty true. Um, yeah, men also don't tend to kill other men because they're men, whereas an ungodly amount of like targeted violence is done against women, which is one of the reasons why male serial killers so often go after women, or if they're gay, like men, you know, whatever they're into, I guess, because that like predation element sort of persists in a lot of cases for some gay men. Um, but yeah. Well, that's true, WPG Squirrel. A better way to understand it is if you're a POC guy, would you rather see two white men or a bear? I'd pick the bear. Yeah. Well, as we're gonna see from Ole Miss, you know, pretty soon. Yeah, like you're wandering around in the marshlands of Florida as a black man, and you see two white men. Would you rather them or an army of crocodiles? Or sorry, alligators. I don't remember which one is in. Yeah, yeah. Forget which one is where. Do you think most men are scary? I don't like questions like this. No, most men aren't scary and dangerous like that. It's a broader social dynamic, you know? A lot of it is just what people feel comfortable doing, or like in what situations people feel like they have social permission to, or what people feel entitled to. It's not like most men. I don't worry about most men, partly because I'm a guy, partly because I'm like a big guy, but a lot of it's just because I'm a guy. Like there are smaller guys who also don't go around super paranoid about guys because generally speaking, predatory men don't target other men, you know, whereas women get like roofied or raped or harassed or stalked or like catcalled or whatever the fuck else, like pretty damn often, you know? Thinking of demographics as individuals and its consequences has been a disaster for American culture. It's a problem for everyone, right? When you talk about like broader like social issues or normalization issues, that's what those are. They manifest in individuals, but not necessarily consistently. Even good men have elements of that socialization in them, right? Like all the time, constantly. It's like that's the nature, that's how it is, you know? It would be like going back in time in the 1950s and thinking like, okay, white supremacy is pretty rampant at this point in time, like really, really rampant. So like it's basically like American white society is made up 90% of racists and 10% of non-racists. And it's like, no, that's not really how it works. It's actually like a really broad spectrum of people with different ideas and attitudes. White supremacy informs everybody's thinking. Only a very small number of people openly reject it. In reality, it's more like a kind of range of influence where social circumstances can affect like how much you commit to the bit, you know? Um, Even before I transitioned, I felt uncomfortable around men because it always felt like there was an unspoken threat of violence behind any disagreement. Because men are fucking crazy insecure, you know? When people say women are emotional, what they mean is that women cry over burning toast or whatever. And then it's like, oh, well, men are rational, as they fucking unironically act like gorillas over any perceived slight to their ego. It's insane. It's one of the reasons you can't, like, generally be friends with guys. Like, bro friendship so often is lovingly referred to in online circles as a kind of, like, camaraderie willingness to prank and make fun of each other, because that's the limit of the sincerity men can express, because anything more than that would sort of trip into the ego and would start like making them really defensive or angry, you know? It's fucking insane, dude. It's crazy. A gender, but 5'2", A5 with huge tits. At work, an obviously older man walked up to me and complimented me and gave me his number. I thought it was actually nice and flattering, except after that I realized that he was on my very short bus ride to school and he kept staring at me. I got bad vibes and... Wait, bus ride to school? Were you in high school at the time? I got bad vibes and took a different walk around to work. Oh, work. Okay, okay. To school then. He predicted this and waited around the other side of the building to confront me and follow me to work, and I had to basically yell at him in public to get him to stop following me, despite saying I wasn't interested. Yeah, like, it's genuinely, like, like, this shit happens so often, though hopefully not to that extent. Like, you know, all the fucking time. It's crazy. It's never happened to me, you know? Never happened to me. So, yeah. I disavow. Yeah, we as the guys in chat are all aggressively disavowing right now. We're all disavowing very hard. This isn't like a all men bad thing or whatever. It's just like you have to be sympathetic to the way this dynamic affects like women or AFAB or what the fuck, you know, feminine people. Didn't this literally happen to Hunter Avalon? This happened to Hunter Avalon's girlfriend. Yeah. Well, Hunter Avalon's girlfriend fucking stalked her back home with a gun. Yeah, or what was it, a wife now? A wife now. Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that. Yeah, yeah, the ex or whatever fucking stalked and attacked her. Yeah, and like shot into the door and stuff with a fucking shotgun or something, you know? Yeah. Society doesn't make the effort to weed out this behavior, so women have to assume the worst. Yeah, cool scene. I like that way of putting it too, because I think women would be a lot more comfortable if it wasn't for the fact that so much of this behavior gets kind of like, it's allowed to slide up until the very last minute. So a guy can be, even around his friends, persistently weird and creepy, but it's like, oh, haha, that's so wild, until he really does something. But because there's no system for weeding that behavior out early, or disincentivizing it, or disallowing it, or socially ostracizing people who act that way, like, women, from the outside perspective, if they're not already, like, locked in with your friend group, they don't know which guys are red flags, because everyone seems to be okay with every, like, sign up until the final red flag, you know? Like, it doesn't, like, people kind of, like, write it off or whatever. Yeah, exactly, Sam Devan. I have a genuine question that still confused me about one thing. So if women at that wedding are correct to watch their drinks so closely, when you talk about brain poison women watching true crime, what is the manifest? No, Benjamin, these are different things. Women are literally taught to always have their eyes on their drinks. They'll bring it into the bathroom with them. The true crime brain poisoning thing isn't about, like, going out and being treated a certain way at the club. It's the fear of getting, like, broken into, like your house getting broken into or whatever. The problem that I have with true crime is that it manifests paranoia that's unwarranted. The fear that, like, somebody's going to do, like, sex traffic you from the parking lot of a Walmart, or like break into your house or whatever. That's the shit, right? But, like, let's be real here, okay? On the list of things for a woman to be afraid of, getting roofied and raped at a bar is genuinely pretty high up there, like quite a bit. Like, that's way more the fuck likely to happen to a girl. Oh, and remember when I told you that I had a friend who was telling me about a story about how the last time that she was at a bar, her friend was roofied and she had to drag her out of the bathroom? That was because she didn't look at her drink. The reason that happened was because she accepted a drink provided to her by a man. That's why. Like, she fucked up, roofied, raped. Like, there you go. Like that. Like, there you go. Congrats. There's your life now. Like, so, like, the not to say that can't happen with, like, sex trafficking. Like, it can. It's just, like, that's just so out there, you know? That's such a, like, true crime brain problem. Whereas the you know, the immediacy of that is pretty real, you know? Yeah, the only person you accept drinks from at the bar is the bartender, you know. And ideally, you'd see them make it too, which they do, right? Like bartenders make the drink at the bar. You see that, you know. It would take some pretty wild finagling for them to spike the drink there. Yeah, anything that knocks you out that quickly and that hard, Vermin, you know, really gets you. Do they have something in the U.S. like Ask for Angela? I'm sure they do. It's just that I'm a man, so I don't know about it. You know, like all the like secret signs or whatever. Like like I'm positive they do. I just don't know them, and I don't need to. Is the thing, right? You know. But the whole point of that is that men don't know, right? Because if you're being like harassed by a guy, the guy wouldn't know if you're asking like the secret, like this guy's gonna rape me drink. You know, angel shots, what it called? Yeah. Certain drink orders signal they need help regardless of gender. Yeah, yeah, regardless of gender. Obviously, like regardless of gender. Yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah. I was roofied at a club, and even though my friends got me out, I was too scared to go back for months despite loving them. Yeah, no kidding. That's fucking terrifying. Yeah, you know? It's not like being roofied is something that you can like muscle your way out of or whatever. It's not like it's not one of the, it's like pure, like it would happen with equal effect to basically everyone just based on weight, right? You know? Um so it's not, yeah. This is why whenever you go to the bar, you should have a propane tank strapped to your chest. You know, if you feel even a little bit woozy, you puncture it with a screwdriver, and that's, you know, just make it everyone's problem. The dead man switch. Yeah, walking around in public with a dead man switch at all times, and if even mildly perturbed, I just let go. How can you not be insecure as a guy approaching someone knowing that every woman has experiences like that? Because women somehow, in spite of everything, still at times do like men. You know, and you could be that guy. Seriously, don't like let it get you down or whatever. If you just be normal, you know, that's fine. Just be normal. It's if you can be normal, like you're at the end of the day, like you're not responsible for what other guys have done to anyone you approach. You're only responsible for your own behavior. Just be considerate, right? This is one of the reasons why I stress that if you want to get more charismatic and social, one of the best things that you can do is develop conversational strategies that give other people an out so that you don't ever worry about like trapping them in a conversation, if that makes any sense. So you want to like you want to, especially early on, treat conversations as a series of like back and forth hooks where you're determining how interested both of you are by giving the other person an opportunity to like take the hook and like go a little further with the convo, or to back off of it and not be that interested, you know? That kind of thing. Like even a compliment can tell you a lot. If you go up to a chick at a bar, you know, and you say, like, "Oh my God, I really like your dress, your shirt. She's got like a nice necklace or something," you know. You can usually like, "Oh, does she go like, oh my God, thank you, blah blah," or she's like, "Yeah, thanks." Like you can read a lot just from stuff like that, you know. It's not a perfect system, but it's good to lean on the side of caution, especially in an environment like a bar too, you know, because like you're probably talking over loud music, you know. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. This is another problem that having regular female friends you don't necessarily want to sleep with would help fix. Yeah, yeah, that's true, 100%. Yeah. It's you know, if you have some chicks you just talk to normal, it probably helps a lot just with the basic, you know. That's great, Shepherd Han. Remember the TwitchCon roofie drink delivery system? Yes, this got so much shit at the time because the fucking idiots at TwitchCon, who are all men, all of them, and have never talked to a woman in their life and have never even seen a woman except for the booby streamers that they watch and subscribe to. At the TwitchCon, like back end, you're one of our partners party, they pre-serve the drinks. This is like this would this is so incomprehensibly stupid. Like you would genuinely have to have never like looked at a woman in your life to consider this. At TwitchCon, do you know how many fucking rapists there must be at TwitchCon? Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Oh my God. Like it's just it betrays like such an incredible boys club attitude towards the field, you know? Genuinely inhuman Lamau. Yeah, no, it just it's remarkable. It really is. It's incredible. You know it was on purpose. Come on. I'm trying to be charitable here. But yeah, Twitch staff be Twitch staff, I guess. Banning me. I maintain that having a gender mixed stable platonic friend group is one of the best social influences a young man slash boy can have. Yeah, 100%. What do you think about women who are just done with men and have that fuck all men attitude? Who cares? They're not hurting you. Like they might be annoying on Twitter or whatever, but like, come on, you know. Like if they're making really bad political prescriptions or like going out there arguing with people, you can argue against them. I just wouldn't take them too seriously, you know? In spite of all the terrible shit that men broadly have done to women broadly, there are still girls going out to bars, you know? Clearly, like, we're just going to have to live with each other. So I think that like a national divorce, you know, men going their own way, women going their own way attitude towards solving these issues doesn't really help. But if they're doing it out of a trauma response, then like fucking, you know. Had a dude visiting town for a month say to my friend some shit like, I'm confident we'll fuck before I leave. Jesus Christ. Well, were they right? Because if they ended up being right, that could be like retroactively Riz, you know? I assume you just mean like totally platonic friend. She was taken at the time. Wait, she was already in a relation. Okay, gotcha. That's somebody who's read like a lot of red pill forum advice. You know what I mean? See, woman who's already taken. You know, like flip the shades. Go like, yeah, we're gonna fuck before the end of the night, and then like get slammed after 3 drinks, puke in an alleyway, and pass out in your own puddle of vomit. You know, really, really hardcore like Riz Master shit. Were we still talking about the bear? I mean, it's my stream, isn't it? Is that Vush's cat or mine? It's mine. Ruben is very loud. If you hear or anything like that, like it's him. He's fine. He doesn't need anything. I saw a tweet with a ton of likes saying men should be born in jail and have to prove their way out. That shit rubs me the wrong way. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty funny. Also, isn't that usually done in response to like a video of a group of men doing some horrid shit? I don't know. Like I don't think stuff like that hurts men as a social class. So we're not really talking about political harm here. Yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of think of it as like if it was like the 1950s and you had Twitter back then and there were some black people who were saying shit like that about white people in response to a video of like a bunch of white people having drinks around a lynched black guy. I don't literally think all white people should have to prove their way out of prison from birth, but I don't know if I could necessarily fault the black people for tweeting that in the 1950s with their time travel tech, you know? It's not like an actual argument. It's a rhetorical point, you know. And I mean, it sucks, but like, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be lynched either. I feel like that would probably hurt, you know. Okay, but it's not that bad for women as it was for black people. No, but I don't know. It's kind of the broader sentiment, right? Why oppression Olympics it? Women do have genuinely like a lot to fear, and there's a lot of shit there, right? Like again, men aren't being hurt by this. I feel like when men are hurt by stuff like this, it's because they feel uncomfortable approaching women, and they think that attitudes like this are an impediment to them being like normally social with women. But being normally social with women means doing so in an environment where you have to understand the cards are already stacked in your favor. There's nothing that you can do about that. There's nothing that you can do to like socially reorient. It would be like, you know, there's nothing you can't like fix that broader context. You just have to operate like with like empathy towards people who are at other points in it, if that makes any sense. Yeah, maybe that's the way, Vermin. That's true, Annie. Yeah, or then black trans women if you want to like really nail it down, you know. I don't think of it as sex essentialism, Nikki Bugs. I don't really see it that way. Why do things have to be materially bad? You literally did an entire arc against hypothetical black ethnic cleansing against white people. Yes, because the political arguments that those people were making would have led to that. Or like when I say, hey, you're defending arguments that would basically actually unironically do like white ethnic cleansing, my concern isn't that they're going to succeed. They won't. We have the power. They don't have the power to do that. They're not going to do that, you know? The problem is that their arguments are bad. Like their line of logic reinforces the system that oppresses them. It's a bad line of logic, you know? But like tweets like men should have to prove their way out of jail aren't like a serious political argument for sex segregation. If they were, I'd oppose it. And in fact, I have. I do occasionally see people argue for sex segregation in society broadly, which is a terrible fucking idea, and I argue against that because you have to understand the difference between actual political arguments and like venting, you know? Like, you guys don't have an issue with this when I talk about the South, do you? How many times have I talked about, as I will this stream, Sherman going down and doing another burning run on the South? And you guys all understand that this isn't an actual political argument. You understand that it's, you know, a rhetorical device where I'm expressing frustration with and blah, 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 blah. See? You don't have an issue with it. And yet, for some reason, whenever it involves, like, I don't know, like, fucking men, like some people in chat are like, whoa, hold on now, and you lose the ability to distinguish between the like rhetorical point and the actual political argument. And I think that's because of insecurity. And I know that because I used to feel that way. I used to think that women were overstating the threat to them, and that by acting that way, they were being kind of hysterical, and it was an impediment to me socializing with them. And I used to think, hey, if women would stop being freaks about this, I could be more normal with them. And of course, over time, I stopped thinking that way because it was wrong to. Like, that was just a bad argument on several levels, you know? But I did have a period of time where I thought that. So I understand where people are coming from when they react that way. I'm only saying that, like, I'm saying that I understand it, you know? But, like, ultimately, it's something that has to be moved past, I think. Yeah, but you're being funny about it, and it's hard to tell someone is not being sarcastic. For you, maybe, Benjamin, when I see an 82,000 like tweet saying men should have to prove their way out of jail, I don't think they're actually arguing for a system where infant males are like, think for a second. You really think that's not a joke? Come on. I don't know, I've seen enough times. Benjamin, you're fighting yourself right now. You're shadowboxing yourself. I see the problem is that you're autistic enough to not get hyperbole, except they get the hyperbole when I'm talking about Byrne and Sherman. It's because it speaks to their insecurities. There's some variance, Minimar. Is this devil's advocate? No, I'm not devil's advocating anything. People aren't bringing out stats to prove Sherman as they are with the bear. What are you talking about? I could, like the Byrne and Sherman thing, I could easily substantiate the joke there by pointing to a bunch of stats that show what a shithole the South is and how Reconstruction should have never ended. I don't know what you're talking about. Look, let's move on from this topic, okay? If you're struggling with this or like the differences or whatever, I strongly encourage you to have platonic female friends, okay? I'm sorry, but like the pithy, insubstantial, flaccid insecurities you have about women making jokes about how violent men are pale in comparison to the fact that men are often really violent to women, you know? Like, go up to a woman and hear her explain to you, like, the 16 stories she has of men being freaks to her, and then go like, okay, but, like, when you make jokes about these things that keep happening over and over from different men to you all the time with consistent patterns that are reinforced by broader social standards, you know, I don't think that means you should be able to make jokes about it. Now, watch me make jokes about, I don't know, murking Netanyahu or like doing a Sherman run in the South, you know? Like, yeah, I just dial it back, okay? All right, let's continue. Nice bear discourse. I've proven myself to be the one good man. Thank you. Not all men. Hashtag not all men. I'm not like them. Thank you. Ladies, give me your number. Don't actually do that. Get enough fucking emails from you people. I ignore your emails. I see your fucking emails. Ooh, you're so hot. I don't care. I know. You think I need your fucking affirmation? I know. I wake up every morning, I look in the mirror, and I go, that'll get me by for another 20 years, you know? It just keeps stacking. I know. It's all good. What about men's emails? Trust me, you're worse. The average man is pretty Rizless compared to the average woman. You're the one injecting hypocrisy into these hypotheticals. Okay, Sir, I can't logic out your insecurities, okay? I can't like make you just think about it. Take a day. Just think about it. It's just a day. Just think about it. Okay? Just think about it. Like you're radiating insecurity to everyone watching. Like there are 5,500 people watching right now going like, God damn, do they not see? Do they not understand like how this looks, you know? Look, Artemy understands. He used to menace pigeons sometimes, but now he doesn't. What are you doing? Why are you twisting your head? Wah! Oh, you want to be free? Be free. That is such a nice cat. He's a very good boy. Red light time? No, not this time. He'll come back for it for sure. He loves the red light. He loves getting his little red light bath. I think a part of it is that men think a lot of women believe it's super easy to be a man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much that should factor into the thing, right? Like, even if women were not aware of that, I don't know if it really plays into the empathy that you should feel towards what they're going through. It's definitely, like, not easy to be a guy. There's plenty of problems with being a guy. It's just these aren't really those problems. Predation isn't, like, the thing guys worry about, you know? Yeah, listen, okay, I don't think it's easy being a guy. I do, however, think that when it comes to walking around alone at night or going to a bar on my own, being a guy is significantly easier. It's just depressing that I'm going to be perceived as a threat by default because of how predatory other men are. That's not insecurity, that's legitimate feeling. Get over it. Women don't want you doing that either. Women don't want you being like a weepy, self-conscious guy just because other guys have been bad, you know? You have to get over it. Sorry. Like imagine how weepy you would sound if you were like a white boy doing this in like to like a black girlfriend or something. Like think about it. Like there's nothing more like pathetic and like undeserving of sympathy than a person from the dominant class getting weepy over the fact that they don't like being lumped in with other members of the dominant class who act worse than them. You have to live your life. You're not responsible for other people's behavior. Just be empathetic and do your best. That's it. Seriously, you know? Be empathetic, do your best, and you've got that. I know I overstated your point a little bit there, Troop, but you know, I'm trying to get at the heart of it. You know, I'm like, got a trowel. I'm trying to uproot weeds of bad thoughts. I got to get the roots. You know, that's what I mean. Just try your best. That's all anyone can do. Vosh, for fuck's sake, it's not like I'm constantly self-conscious about it. It just sucks, especially as a black man. Oh, yeah, sure, 100%. I'm not saying that it doesn't suck. I'm just saying that, like, you know, there's nothing to do but, like, move past. Though the racial element of this is different because that's intersectionality, right? Like, the racial element exacerbates the perceived threat massively and undeservedly, you know, and that isn't being part of the dominant class, you know? I understand that more because in that case, you know, you're protesting against your like being on the underside of that class dynamic. All the same, you know, all we can do is try our best. Thank you. God took you long enough. Well, you didn't say you were black. That's obviously a different element of. You just said, man, that element. I think that you have to just like move forward, and then with the racial element, obviously, there's a whole like other element to that. Yeah, I think warrants more significant negative feelings because you're not sort of just like engaging in like I'm not like other members of my dominant class. That's different, intersectionality, right? Forming a big old X. Vosh, I think you're confusing hyperbole with getting to the heart of the issue. That's an arrogance thing, you fuck. Why are you guys... Okay, the bear hypothetical succeeding even more in prompting revealing behavior. What are you on about? We need a Moy to purge, yeah. No bait posting, Tron Panda. I don't know, I have a lot of platonic female friends and they would all laugh at watching your drink thing. Benjamin, if you think your platonic female friends would laugh at the idea of watching their drinks at a bar, I don't know if you're listening to them or they're genuinely insane and different from every woman I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, I genuinely like that. Like, it's possible that they're all just like, this is so universally considered. I struggle to believe that that is real or that this is something you've talked about with them. Also, how old are you? Are your friends even old enough to drink? 23? Okay, barely old enough to drink. Whatever. We're moving on. Vosh is true that at a wedding it makes less sense. The point is that they're trained to do it. That most of the time when a girl is dancing at a place where she has drinks, she's not at a wedding, she's at a bar. So she continues to hold her drink while dancing at the wedding because it's so ingrained in her behavior that she continues to do it even there, you know? That it's not just like a considered behavior but a reflexive one. That's the point. That it's habit. Oh, is that why they do it? Yes. Okay. If it's habit, wouldn't it also be habit to take a defensive stance towards men? Yeah, women never do that. Oh god, guys, all the contrarians are coming out now. Siri, come on. Can we please move on? I feel like I'm being baited. Okay. All right. Fuck it. Yeah, let's just go right into it. So, Asmongold has just been like full-throatedly sucking pig dick and defending the crackdown on student protesters. I don't really know how much this means, like on a sort of ideological level, because Asmongold kind of seems to be a fucking idiot who just follows whatever path or trend he's given. Also, Asmongold's editor is a Nazi, which might be influencing him negatively. Elon recently unbanned Nick Fuentes on Twitter, and Asmongold's editor put that as Elon unbanned a, quote, white supremacist, end quote, mildly right-leaning political commentator Nick Fuentes. He's a Nazi. Literally nobody but a Nazi would do that. So pretty cool that one of the biggest Twitch streamers is just, Asmongold's stupid enough that he could probably be led by the nose to basically any political point. So the fact that he has a Nazi as his editor. Anyway, apparently they talked for like 50 hours. I don't know if I can watch all this. What happened?
Mine, like you're talking about Martin Luther King. He also explicitly was against blocking transportation. And so
wow, this one was rough for Hasan, wasn't it? Oh man. Okay. All right.
So there were lines even that he had.
Wait, Martin Luther King also participated in the Montgomery bus boycott. It's all good.
But yeah,
Also, they blocked roads all the time, like constantly.
I didn't want to derail your stream or anything. Or like
No,
interrupt it. Like,
No,
obviously
not at
trying to-
all. My stream is a sequence of endless derailments in general, so
Yeah, so is
visual
mine. Yeah, I mean, like, so I see what you're saying, kind of with like the guy entering the encampment, but I think that
They were arguing for on Twitter prior to this. I saw this. Asmon was just doing his standard like goalpost moving, whining about how like there was a video of one guy who was trying to move through some protesters, and that one guy is like a pro-Zionist agitator who was literally working with the cops to try to bait engagement from the protesters. And he was trying to just like fuss with them, and Asmongold saw a deliberately cut video of that and was like, look, this one poor student can't get to his classes or some stupid shit like that.
it's kind of problematic if people just get into a university and build like an area and tell people they can't go inside that area. And also, like in the video, it's hard for me to know whether they're really stopping them from the encampment. Because like, I mean, and you know, you can look at it from my perspective, because you look at that video and it doesn't seem like there's an encampment behind those people.
yeah, they framed it in a way specifically so that it would invoke that response from people that are unfamiliar.
So you think that like basically they
Oh yeah, here's the video with 13,000 likes on Asmongold subreddit, because he's basically like, ever since all of the right-wingers on Twitch have gotten banned or moved over to Kick or whatever else, Asmongold is now basically the hub of right-wing political engagement on Twitch. I don't know if anyone else even comes remotely close.
Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm...
This is the agitator. Again, he was literally shown, there was a photo of him shaking hands with the LAPD. He's literally a paid op.
Going this way, excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school.
Where is he
and
pointing
they're not
to?
letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Well, I can't take it. Will you let me go in? This can be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in to class.
We're not engaging with that.
Then you can move. Will you move?
We're not.
See, this is a video filmed by him and his crew. He could move around them to get to there. He literally just wants to break through this group right here because he wants to cause shit. That's the entire point. Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, it's completely meaningless. You can see all that open space behind him. He's not being blocked to anything. Asmongold is stupid enough to fall for this. Yeah, UCLA protesters fuck around and find out.
I feel like the LAPD is stalling, is only going to set a horrible precedent for future protests. What do you think they should do? I don't really know what the options are, like what's on the table, but like, this is what would make sense to me, and like, I don't really know what I'm talking about, but it would make sense.
Actually, I'm just going to cut it there. Sorry. I'm just going to cut it there. That's fine. Okay, these are all clips of him covering the UCLA protest. Yeah, okay. So he's just in favor of like the police crackdown, you know. Whatever. Let's get to the fucking conversation.
They filmed it from a direction where
Oh,
there
no,
aren't.
it's not that I think, I know. I was there.
Well, no, when did you go there?
I went there 3 days ago, I think. And he was there actually even that day as well. He's been there every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of these broccoli-haired Zoomers that runs around and is like trying to use America.
Oh, thank you very much, honey. Yeah, here we go. See, this is that guy, even in the same shirt. Like, this is what you're up against, guys. The agitators and ops aren't just like independent grifters. They are literally working with those in power to disrupt the protests.
American foreign policy and active conflict to basically make TikTok allow for himself. He's also worked with groups like Stand With Us, which is a group that directly gets funding from the Israeli government. So like he has worked with the Israeli government to do propaganda already. But I'm sure this is a great career opportunity for him. That's why he's been on Fox News. There's videos of him like trying to debate and agitate teachers that are near the encampment. Even Sky News called him a counter protester and an agitator.
Remember when we saw that random like pro-Israeli anti-protester student at, what was it? Which was the university? And then somebody in chat provided the link to her bio. I think it was SDL, and it turns out she had literally worked with the Republican Party. All of this is being like coordinated, not in a conspiratorial way. It's just the media knows what the narrative is. We've seen this happen before with big subjects like the Iraq War. They know who's on the right and the wrong side. It's all an astroturfed effort. They know who to talk to. They know who to coordinate with. Media talks to police. Police and media both talk to respective local political leaders. Which political leaders do you think are most likely to get along with the cops? Yeah. And the right-wing, sort of like corporate types who control local media, like Sinclair Group or Fox News or whatever else. Like, you know, we're up against capital here, an impossibly well-organized capital class. That's what happens when you really threaten U.S. hegemonic interests.
Like he's like a known figure. This is not a random guy. That's also the reason why he is, at least for UCLA campus, he's the only video of like anyone even claiming the students are blocking people from going to campus, because he's deliberately going up to the encampment in an effort to try to get into the encampment to start fights. When I was there, a bunch of Zionist counter protesters tried to do that as well. And the students were incredibly well organized, and they just set up a human chain to, like, they don't even like physically apprehend or remove people. They basically just body block them as though they are there, you know, having a picnic.
By the way, all protests ever do this. At the civil rights protest, or the Civil Rights Act protests under Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it's not like a bunch of black guys marching to their group would let one white dipshit go in there and go, oh, what's up? Oh, you're black? That sucks, bro. Oh, you're black. I'm gonna get in. You're not letting me into your crowd? What's up? Why are you blocking my way? Why are you blocking my way, bro? Why are you blocking a white man? Why are you blocking a white man? Like, you seriously think they would just like every fucking protest needs to let any dipshit just muscle their way in? With a fucking like, Jesus Christ, you know, the whole protesters don't let agitators into the group. That is like every protest ever.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that, and I think it was like 2 nights ago, not last night, whenever all this stuff got removed, but the night before. I mean, it was pretty obvious that like the Israeli or like Zionist or anti-Palestinian ones were the aggressors, and I think that that's a bad thing. I mean,
you sound experienced at that, but I do what I just did anytime I see a group of 2 black people together, like in public, like if they're friends or whatever.
I don't think that the guy is in the wrong, though, for being a counter-protester or even for being an agitator. Really, it depends on how you define the word, because, I mean, that's his freedom of speech, and I feel like...
Oh, fuck, this whole thing is going to be a complete waste of time, isn't it? Asmongold isn't going to say anything. He's going to waffle every point, and his only final position is going to be like, well, I just don't feel right about this or something. He's so stupid. He's so fucking stupid, dude. Genuinely. Is it his Nazi editor who's leading him around like this? How much coordination is there? You know? Does he like is he aware of the fact that how far right he is? I have no idea. It really is crazy. All of like Hitler's strongest soldiers, you know, you have a Mexican, Nick Fuentes, you have Candace Owens, a black woman, and then you have a guy who has to, like, I don't know, scrape mice off the floor for his breakfast or something. Whatever the fuck he's on about, you know.
That's what's fair, in the same way that it's fair for those other people to go and protest for Palestine. Yeah,
but the difference is first of all, bear mace,
genuinely, like the dredges,
or mace,
you know?
in general, is illegal to bring to protest, and he's like flashing it. There's another video of the students, literally, he walks up to them when they're gearing up for the cops to show up,
Yeah.
And they as soon as say we are peaceful, we're peacefully protesting against the Israeli genocide here. Like we see your bear
Jesus
mace.
Christ.
Like please, you're making us feel.
If you're able to walk across this shit to get to your monitor, then bro can walk around to get to class. Oh my god, that's true. That's true. I can't believe the pro-Palestinian drink cups and trash piles are blocking the Zionist agitator Asmongold from reaching his desk.
Feel unsafe. And he actually literally does not have a right to have that on.
Did you see his new video defending Fuentes, calling him mildly right? I didn't see the video, only the description. Because I know that his editor is a Nazi. I didn't see the video. I don't know what he's saying in the video. My guess, because again, he's very, very stupid, is that he would say, like Asmongold would say something like, well, I'm all for free speech, and you know, they say this guy is bad, but I don't know much about him. And then somebody in chat would say like, he's based, yo, and then Asmon would be like, yeah, I hear like the left kept targeting this guy. Like he would like defend him without defending him, basically. Just my guess. I haven't seen a video. I'm not gonna see the video either, but I'm right.
On him, and yet that on that very same night, last night, he was over there dabbing it up with the cops and shit. The cops obviously don't give a shit about the pro-Palestinian encampment, especially because 2 nights prior, at this point, when the counter-protesters actually tried to enter the encampment, they came with weapons, they came with fireworks, they came with skunk spray.
Asmon also has a habit of saying he's getting canceled. He makes an "I've been canceled" video every 3 days. Yeah.
They came with bear mace.
That was like the day that, because they were chanting the "Where were you?" Was this the "Where were you" moment?
I don't know what do you mean? Where were you?
Oh, yeah. I guess you were sleeping. Like last night, whenever it happened, like a lot of the protesters were like chanting at the cops.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They were saying like, "Where were you?" Yeah, yeah. Okay, so like we're talking about the same thing, right?
So the night prior, the reason why they were chanting "Where were you?" last night to the cops is probably because the night prior, Zionist counter-protesters actually stormed the camp and beat the shit out of some of the Palestinian students, or pro-Palestinian students, with like wood pallets.
I watched it happen. I watched it happen live. It was disgusting. Like I was kind of disappointed that the police didn't arrest any of them.
Yeah, the police came.
Wonder why.
The police actually came.
They did.
Yeah, and they stood by for an hour and 30 minutes in single file line formation while these guys were beating the shit out of, and these guys aren't even students. Like you can see it in the video. They're like, these guys are like adults. They're older. You know what I mean? They're like older than the students too.
There's also the protesters that are Palestinians that were identified.
Okay, so he's a civility lib then? Well, no, Asmongold is a fascist. He's just like actually one of the purest examples of the moderate wing of fascism thing. The positions that he arrives at, the things that he defends and attacks, these are he ends up like in line politically with the fascism side almost every time. But when challenged, it's all done under the artifice of civility, right? So right now the dynamic is Asmongold has always been like a very civil guy. But over time, Twitch has cracked down on right-wingers on Twitch streams more and more because, as it turns out, it's really difficult to be a right-leaning political streamer and not violate terms of service when it comes to being bigoted, you know? So he was always like a Trump guy, but he was like a civility-leaning kind of Trump guy, like kind of nice, you know? But over time, more and more right-wingers have been banned, so more of them have flooded over to Asmongold, the ones who didn't leave over to Kick or whatever, right? So he's getting pushed further and further into, like, the radicalization side of things, you know, Nick Fuentes, or, like, race stuff or whatever, and his positions are getting more and more far-right. You know, he's taking his opinions from that, like, pedophile lolicon VTuber streamers videos, and his chat's egging him on the entire way. No, it's not his mask dropping. A mask would imply that Asmongold had like a private set of positions that he's disguising with the civility. I don't think that's true. I think that he thinks of himself as like a civil little baby birthday boy with glasses, and everyone else who's mean and canceling him is just like being insane about it, right? Because he's civil, right? But the civility is being employed in the service of far-right talking points, ones that he can't defend, which is why the moment Hasan comes on, he shrivels up and becomes a birthday boy, right? He was literally cheering on the LAPD as they crack down on the UCLA protesters. But then Hasan comes on, he's like, oh, well, I think it was disgusting, the violence that was used against the protesters and da-da-da, you know? Like, he doesn't have any real opinions, but I don't think it's deliberate dishonesty.
As being older as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's hard to
I know,
really
I'm saying...
yeah.
No, I'm saying that like a lot of these guys, especially the more violent.
Asmon the fascist, what a joke. Vosh going off of the deep end again. Oh, hello, Asmongold fan. Like, listen, maybe think about like the way I presented that argument, okay? It's not that he's an out and about ideological fascist. It's that he's being driven to the outcomes and beliefs that fascists have from the perspective of some like moderate civil kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, it's, yeah, he's very malleable. It's very easy for him to be pushed into that position, you know? I think it's like pretty obvious. It's not like a difficult line to push or whatever. It's not like a, you know, crazy out there position.
Ones have already been like identified as not going to UCLA, and they're basically return customers. And they're basically return customers at this point. It was a big point of contention with the students too, because UCLA was like, "Oh, we are going to take administrative action against the counter protesters for being violent," and the students were frustrated with that because they were like, "How the are you going to do anything?"
He said he supports Palestinians. What he says doesn't matter. That's the point. You're falling for it. A person can say anything, but if you look at his channel, UCLA protesters get what's coming to them. Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist. Like, it doesn't matter what you say. He says anything because he's not stupid enough to have a consistent position, you know? And yeah, Candace Owens also says she supports Palestinians for what it's worth. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like, think about it.
Administration to someone who's not a student, because a lot of the counter protesters were not students. Like, there were known right-wing figures and stuff like that amongst the counter protesters. Anyway, so the reason why the students were frustrated, understandably, is because they've demonstrated great messaging discipline so far. They are very, they're as limited in their disruption as possible. And historically speaking, campus-wide protests such as this one is infinitely more disruptive than what the pro-Palestinian encampment looked like. I mean, we're talking in 1968, they were taking, literally, students would go in during the civil rights movement with guns and take deans hostage. In 1968 in Colombia, they took a dean hostage for like days.
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah.
Back when we were a real country.
They would literally just like shut off access for a dean from like leaving their room. They'd be like, no, you're not leaving. So historically speaking, people on the right side of history that we understand we're on the right side of history have taken way more radical and way more disruptive approaches to protest. So all things considered, both in the Columbia University, where they overtook Hamilton Hall again, just like they had done time and time again at Columbia specifically. That hall has a historical significance for student protesters. And also especially at UCLA, where the encampment was like not even remotely disruptive, simply just taking on this massive lawn space where there's a lot of demonstrations usually, and building like putting tents around it and trying to protect the tents from people coming in and it up. There are videos of counter protesters breaking into the encampment in spite of the human wall, the human shield, the human chain that they create. And as soon as they get in, they start.
The thing that's so sad about this is that this could genuinely be a great educational opportunity for Asmongold, but I know that he's looking at his chat right now, and his chat is full of people screaming like, you know, libcuck, he's lying, violent protest, blah, blah, blah. And like none of it's going to stick, you know?
Throwing hooks, throwing bows, stealing people's tents, trying to break the tents apart and stuff. So that's the reason why they don't want to let in random people to protect the students, because they know the university won't
he wasn't streaming during this convo. Oh, okay. All right. Maybe there's a chance.
Do that. As demonstrated by the fact that they didn't do that when the counter protesters came and the cops literally stood idly by.
I do think that like whenever I watched it live, there was like crazy violence, and then once the cops showed up, even whenever they were in that line, the violence went down by like 95%. But I think that you're totally right that the counter protesters were like the agitators. They 100% were, and they were being violent. And to me, it was disappointing that I think the police didn't arrest more of them, because it was pretty obvious that the pro-Palestinian ones were the ones that were the victims in that situation.
Yeah, but they ended up arresting only the Palestinian, like the pro-Palestinian side. And the night prior, they didn't actually engage with the counter protesters. Until they were setting off fireworks and launching them directly in the encampment. So the question is, why are they picking a side? Because they've arrested hundreds of students, both at Columbia University, both in CCNY. What's up?
You mean why are the police picking a side?
Oh, the police are picking a side, and it's not the side that is the violent side in this situation. It's the side that's peacefully demonstrating.
Okay, I actually think that Hasan's doing really good. Hopefully, we're doing a bit of content stealing here, I suppose. Hopefully, I don't think Hasan would mind. Because the problem is, like, it's a lot of Hasan talking, and Asmongold isn't going to say very much because,
in my opinion, a direct violation of First Amendment rights. I don't even personally believe that protesters are supposed to, like, protests are going to be disruptive. Some of those protest movements you might not agree with, or the taxes you might not agree with, but ultimately...
Is Hasan's chat emote locked? Yes. He often emote locks it when he's debating because he can't read text anyway, and he just wants it to be kind of a vibe thing. I honestly think it's a good idea. I should do it more myself. You guys can get real distracting sometimes. Though I'd have to add more emotes, because he has access to the entire Twitch library of emotes, whereas for this, it's just VGG's emotes. So I'd have to add a lot more, I think.
The way I look at it is, they were the perfect victims in this situation, even though I don't expect them to be perfect victims. And yet, even after all of that, they were still met with violent free speech suppression from the state.
I don't know if it's really free speech suppression, right? Because they're not really getting arrested for protesting. They're getting arrested for putting a bunch of tents on the campus whenever the campus tells them to leave.
Yeah,
I mean, the police
nobody ever gets arrested for protesting. That's just that's not a thing. Everybody,
yeah, it's like black men don't get arrested for being black; they get arrested for loitering. You know,
everybody always, when states like in Russia. Or
and since to try to make like an actual point out of this is what I mean by like liberalism being the moderate wing of fascism, right? You can arrive at the same outcomes as a fascist government through the invocation of liberal institutionalism and civility politics. Basically, the law and order thing sounds different when it comes from liberals or fascists, but it means the same. Biden saying dissent must never turn to disorder isn't functionally that different from like, so Biden has like talked about outside agitators, threat to campus, dissent must not turn to disorder. How is that meaningfully different from Trump raving about China-backed BLM protests, anti-American, breaking the law? Functionally, how different is that? The answer is it's kind of not. The police come down on you either way, right? It's the only practice different, like the rhetoric is different. You could say the fascist rhetoric is more extreme and enables worse behavior, but in terms of the actual like outcome, when you rated him the other day, he went, who rated? I didn't expect him to acknowledge my rate. That's fine. Yeah, it's fundamentally, it's the same like line. I don't understand when law and order becomes fascism. Law and order is one of the loudest and most consistent mantras of fascism. It is almost like, find me a fascist government that doesn't screech that. Honestly, that's one of the most aggressive things they push for. Vosh, try not to call liberals fascist, challenge impossible. Are you engaging with anything that I'm saying? This is like pretty straightforward. I feel like I'm levying some pretty straightforward analysis here. I don't feel like I'm asking you guys to catch up with me very much. I'm not like, this isn't a far reach, okay?
In China or whatever, when people are like getting arrested for protesting, the state of course makes up like another reason for it there as well. They'll be like, oh, trespassing, you know what I mean? Obstructing.
What do you think that's unreasonable?
Do I think that arresting someone for protesting?
Yes, a bunch of tents in the middle of a little lawn where they're not blocking or hurting anyone. Yes, calling down 50 trillion LAPD officers to crack down on that and arrest everyone and dox them and work openly with far-right agitators seems a bit unnecessary.
Peacefully is unreasonable, yes.
Well, do I think that, I think the better question is that if you own a property, like, should you have the autonomy to decide who's on that property?
And here we go with the like libertarian property rights framework for fascism. Also a very common line of argument. Yeah. First of all, that's public property. That's UCLA. So, okay. And second of all, I don't think you should get to engage in, like, this is literally like, oh man, there are people on my lawn, like, deploy the nukes,
Well, in this circumstance, it's literally public property because it's UCLA. UCLA is a public school too. So that ultimately changes the dynamic a lot. It depends on what the property is, though. There's like private property, like someone's house, right? I don't think that people should come to your house and protest it at your house. Like is very different, like disrupting your life.
Well, people do protests outside the houses of people, and I think that's okay, I think that's fine. as long as they stay on the street outside. There's a difference between your personal property and like a university campus. Aren't university campuses literally meant to be public forums? Is that not one of the things that people like? This is like Enlightenment era founding fathers ideals of university campuses, that they're not just like a big private house. They're not meant to be like a manor or a you know, like an estate of a wealthy genteel owner. They're meant to be the public forum. That's kind of what they were built to be. That's why they have those big open spaces. You know that, right? A lot of these universities were built with big open squares because people would literally constantly hold events there.
And violating your privacy and safety versus protesting in the middle of a public space at the school that you pay tuition to is perfectly valid, in my opinion.
Well, everybody else pays tuition too. I think it's kind of unfair. For example, some people that pay tuition are locking other people out that are also paying tuition from the same services
not being locked
that they're
out.
both paying for.
So that's it. You bring up a good point, right? Like you're saying, this person also pays tuition. He should be able to go to any space he wants to, any place he wants to on campus, which is correct.
I mean, like, I'm
Except
sure there's a few exceptions, but yeah, generally.
Yeah. So obviously there are many exceptions, not just a few. Like, you know, UCLA campus is very famous. They shut off certain parts of the campus for filming and stuff like that all the time. The difference here is that this is a broad, open public space that these students were already occupying. And the reason why they're not letting, like, they weren't disrupting class. They weren't stopping people from going to class. The university, as a matter of fact, is the reason why the other buildings that were in the surrounding area were shut down.
Yeah, the university has been the only one preventing students from going to classes.
I talked to the students when I was there, and they stated they wanted to go to the library, for example. It's across the green area is across the way from the library. They shut down the library during midterms so that these guys' lives would be harder, so that they would have a harder time studying. They shut down the Wi-Fi so that students that are on the encampment would not be able to use it. Try to make this protest as hard for them as possible, which is normal. I don't think that that's a good thing to do, personally. I think it probably goes against the values that UCLA espouses, specifically. Ironic because, like, a lot of these...
The admins are ass. University administration is almost always fucking evil. Universities make their money through investment and through real estate for the most part, and through sports. The education stuff is just tacked on. You know, it's what is it? A trust fund or a hedge fund with a library attached. You know, so no matter how good university professors might be, the administration are almost like the phrenology of university administration. You know, we're talking like Murdoch shit. Okay, for the most part, we're talking like evil fucking wealthy, like suburban, you know, like wasp white like, you know, we're talking about some bad people. Okay, some bad people, and the deans they appoint. You know, the university professors tend to be pretty good, but they're not the ones who make the big decisions.
Campuses literally have like super woke terminology in their studies. Like USC literally doesn't have genocide studies. They call it resistance to genocide studies. So
oh boy.
For me, it's like, if you're taking that extra initiative to be extra woke on the aesthetic front, you should probably not be surprised when your students learn the actual lessons that you're teaching in these classes, which is that you should resist the genocide, right? So the fact that the university turns around after teaching them about many different genocides that have happened all around the world, and then tries to do everything in their power to make it as like annoying for these students as possible, is a little hypocritical, in my opinion.
Yeah, not to mention, like, if you took the lessons of the UCLA administration and of the Biden administration to heart and then went throughout history, you would be opposed to the civil rights protests. Like, almost all of them. The idea that dissent must never turn to disorder? What the fuck? Disorder? How do you think most of those marches went? Do you think the cops let them happen? How many photos have you seen of cops turning fire hoses on protesters, or breaking them down, or doing mass arrests, or people being arrested for doing sit-ins? Like, you would unironically be against MLK in that time. So if you ever wonder, how could people have been against MLK in his time? I know that there were like the super racists, but how could you even have white moderates back then? They're still around today. And Biden, because he's old, was around back then too.
It is hypocritical, but it's also something that's driven by the protesters' actions. And the protesters are doing that, and the result of them doing that is the university shutting down those places. And also the university, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, because I'm not really sure exactly. This is just what I've heard. I thought that about 2 days ago.
And then you get shit like this too, where leaders who are today against the tactics the civil rights protesters used will lie and take clout from the idea that they would have been on the right side of history back then. You know who actually was on the right side of history back then? There's one. There's exactly one, and you've all seen the photo of it. Bernie Sanders getting arrested. Arrested! In 1963. Meanwhile, Biden, who wants that clout, also said he got arrested while protesting in favor of desegregation. It was a lie. There's no evidence of it. And he would have been a proper adult by then, too. You know, he wouldn't have been like a 15-year-old scaping by the police. He just lies because they all want to seem like they would have been on the right side of history back then, but they wouldn't have. It's just a lie.
UCLA said that the protest was unlawful, but before then they were basically kind of like not addressing it or not calling in the police to do anything. Is that right?
No, they actually did call the police, but they called the campus police specifically to protect the encampment. I was actually kind of surprised at the university's actions at that time because they knew that there were a lot of counter protesters that, in comparison to Columbia, for example, which had literally called the police against the encampment in Columbia University.
Yeah, I saw that.
The UCLA campus actually had sent police.
57% of people polled back in 1961 thought sit-ins, freedom buses, and other demonstration by Negroes hurt their chance of being integrated in the South. By a more than 2-to-1 margin right here. More than 2-to-1 margin. Guys, grow the fuck up. By a more than 2-to-1 margin. I think this was a poll just of whites at the time. I don't know if this was of all people. Fosh, that's a bit hypocritical of you. Were you at the civil rights marches? Yes, I were. Yes, I were. Yes, I were.
To line up.
And I was not only do you know that I was there, I still have fucking adopted the Southern affect. Yes, I were. That's how there I was. Unknowingly, my persona back then still rises up and makes itself known. Okay.
Around with their backs to the encampment. And that's not just symbolism. That actually means something, right? When you send cops, like cops.
I mean, if the university is allowing it, then really that's the end result. I mean, they're the ones that make that decision. It seems confusing to me that
I'm a dum-dum. Can you please explain how what Biden is doing is fascist, not simply authoritarian? Because fascism is a flavor of authoritarianism, and it's by far the most common one these days. Authoritarianism goes back to the pharaohs and beyond. But nowadays, pure authoritarianism, like authoritarianism without any inherent ideological traits, very rare, as it turns out. Almost always in the day, in an era of mass media, you know, you want to frame your authoritarian logic in some kind of coherent internal ideology. And one of, like, you know, subjugation by the state, law and order, like these are very modern, sorry, I should say modernist fascist attitudes.
You know, based off of the logic that like they're trying to shut down the or the library or the Wi-Fi, but they're also like having police come in and protect them. It seems very confusing. Like, what are their goals here? What are they trying to do?
Well, ultimately, their goal is to get the students to shut up and go away and stop bothering the administration to make these moves about divestment. I don't know if you're familiar with the goals of the student protests were, and every campus is different, but like specifically the UCLA one I can speak to
is to divest. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that he had repeated this so recently. Joe Biden went on the Howard Stern show just 5-6 days ago and repeated that he was arrested standing on the porch with a black family. I like how in his version of the story, he was arrested for standing for civil rights, but just by standing on the porch with a black family. So this way, he can get the clout of being in favor of the last major, you know, student protest civil rights thing, but he wasn't doing anything disruptive. That's very convenient that he would say that, you know? Very, very convenient. And he's saying this now because he knows there's political capital in lying about it.
What corporations they're investing in, which is perfectly valid, perfectly reasonable demands to make. As a matter of fact, a lot of companies have done this. A lot of people have done this successfully, demanding that people divest from oil and gas companies for like environmental activism. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's been going on a lot. And
yeah.
just for the record, like I totally support them protesting against that. Even if I agree or disagree with it, it's their right to protest against that. The only concern that I have is whenever it shuts down other students' ability to learn or get an education, or for people to use the facilities in the way that they're intended to. Yeah. Whenever you talk about the actual like intent of the protesters, I totally support them. Absolutely. Or even the counter protesters.
But gleefully, like, talking about how the LAPD should have gone even harder and used tear gas. Again, like, he says anything. It doesn't mean anything, you know? Completely empty, vacuous.
Because that's freedom of speech. I think that, you know, if you don't have that, I mean, you don't have anything.
Yeah, as long as they're not trying to like directly agitate, disrupt, and like harm the students. Because there's also a completely separate dynamic here. You hate doxing, right? Like, I assume, of course.
We all do.
So would it shock you if I were to tell you that there are active organizations that collaborate sometimes with the Israeli government, sometimes independently, that are tasked with doxing students deliberately and even putting their faces on trucks around the campus and driving those trucks around the campus with their massive billboards basically saying like, this student...
It goes beyond that. There are literally like IDF agents on US campuses. I think just earlier today there was one bragging about having been present at the UCLA crackdown, some Israeli special operations guy who was jerking himself off about how he had like infiltrated the enemy or something. And of course he's this like fat bloviating fuck, you know, with sunken eyes, like he would have fit in with any protesters. Yeah. The big like chemical pepper spray thing, those were former IDF soldiers. Hasan outed one of them when he was at UCLA. Nice. Can somebody find me that link?
Their name and be like, this is an anti-Semite.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would instantly believe that. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure that there are people on the other side to do the same thing. It's just simply...
No, there are not Palestine-backed doxing trucks. There is not a Palestinian-backed university administration or a Palestinian LAPD or New York City Police Department. Okay.
There aren't any official organizations in the same way that Canary Mission, in the same way that like the organization I'm referencing is called Canary Mission. There's a couple other official organizations as well. Some of them are American organizations. They literally directly will be like, oh, are you at a pro-Palestinian protest? You're a anti-Semite. And then they plaster their faces. They literally try to stop.
Well, you got that like a week ago, right? Or 2 weeks ago?
StopAntisemitism.org called me an anti-Semite of the week. But I mean, what's up?
Well, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this is kind of the problem that I have. And I think that really, to me, it's pretty obvious that, you know, being against Israel doesn't mean that you hate Jews, right?
Of course. And there are plenty of Jews who are against Israel as well, especially at those protests.
Well, there's even some that are protesting in Israel, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I understand that. And I think that's problematic too. I don't agree with that either. It's, in my opinion, I think it's intimidation. But it's also like a misrepresentation. So yeah, I think that's bad in the same way that anybody else. I also don't think that people who are pushing back against these people, like the actual protesters that are making encampments and everything like that.
I don't think anything. I don't think this. I don't think that. Yet, coincidentally, all the content that I produce, independent of me talking to Hasan, is like wildly right-wing on the issue. You know? I just think everything's bad, actually. I have no beliefs. I have no principles. I have no arguments to make. It's just, oh, that happens and that's bad. Okay, well, this happens and this is bad. You know, whatever.
They're fascists. Like, I have people calling me a fascist, for example, which I think is
who?
Really
who would do that?
And I think also,
I think some of those guys are fascists, for the record. I do.
And I bet some of the people that are against Israel are anti-Semites. Absolutely.
Yeah, but ultimately, no. I don't disagree with you. I think there's like definitely anti.
See, notice how every point that gets made, he responds to with both sides. Like everyone, like he has no independent point. Nothing means anything. You know, it doesn't matter. Everything's the same. Never mind the fact that when I'm not talking to you, I'm completely one-sided. You know,
anti-Semitism in the pro-Palestinian movement as well. But the broader, you have to look at the broadest defense of the movement. Right? Like, what does the movement signify? What their overarching goals are? The reason why I have an easier time calling those who defend Israel fascist is because Zionism is predicated on the idea that Israel has to be a Jewish supremacist ethno-state that literally has a certain percentage of Jews inside of Israel. This is a demographic concern unlike any other. Here in the United States of America, if we were to say
What is he
America
reading
has
from?
to be a nation that is 75%, Irish, English,
White or- yeah,
and
whatever,
German, white, everyone would understandably go, that's insane. That's just white supremacy. But
Yeah.
Zionism is that exact same principle, is that exact same concept, but for very valid historical reasons, it has been able to shelter itself as a defensive posture, as though it is a defensive ethno-state. The valid reasons, of
It's
course,
very
being the
hard to
Holocaust.
address it within the context of like World War II and
Yeah.
like everything that happened. Yeah, so I understand that, and I mean I'm not really a pro-Israel guy at all, honestly. I don't really give a shit about them. It's not.
We're 20 minutes into 2.5 hours, guys. I can go for a bit longer, but should I skip? I feel like I should skip ahead. Do you think that as he gets more tired, he'll attempt making a point? Do you, if I move ahead by 2 literal hours, do you think he'll eventually arrive at like making a point? He will not. Okay, I kind of want to try anyway. Okay, I'm skipping way the fuck ahead.
My dad about this, and like a lot of people that are like his age are like very pro-Israel, and a lot of people that are our age and younger especially are more pro-Palestine.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that the older you get, the more calcified your position on Israel is, because like it's easier to manipulate.
World War II, and and
Oh
also
no,
like
not
the
even
whole-
that. It's more so.
Okay.
It depends on your media diet. If your media diet is less diverse, and the older you are, the more you like remember a time when there was like 8 newspapers and fucking 3 TV channels.
I'm moving further ahead.
That
right about that.
So that was
And like
that was the minority in that circumstance, and allies of the black community demonstrating unlawfully, like they were breaking the law. They were specifically going to segregated institutions, whether it be universities or whether it be restaurants, private establishments, and demonstrating in a show of force to say that these are unlawful, these are unjust laws that are in place, and these are unjust practices that are in place that are that the government turns a blind eye to, and that needs to change. And in that instance, just like these students, like there were plenty of different mechanisms of the state that, no, it wasn't just the government. I'm saying like private institutions were the ones who are enforcing segregation on their own volition. The reason why we have specific rights that actually interfere in the way that private businesses conduct their affairs on the boundaries of exclusion for certain races and even gender discrimination is specifically because, and this was the segregationist argument at the time, which was
the speaking ratio is like 90-10. Yeah, I kind of wish that Hasan would ask more questions about what he does believe, even though I know he wouldn't get very many good answers. But it seems like Hasan doesn't want to burn a bridge over this, which I can understand because he might be able to have more influence over Asmongold in the future if he doesn't. It's just like I don't think the Nick Fuentes video thing was out at this point either, so he couldn't have brought that up specifically. But like the divide between how confident Asmon is when he's not talking to Hasan and how confident he is when he is talking to Hasan is pretty significant.
Just let the businesses do whatever they want. I'm sure that people will take their dollars elsewhere, but it didn't work that way. Plenty of people actually genuinely loved the idea that there were white-only institutions. White people had more capital than black people, especially in the South, and therefore all of these businesses, if it wasn't for the federal government inevitably due to a tremendous amount of protest and a tremendous amount of resistance and a lot of state violence that tried to squash this democratic resistance. If it wasn't for all of that, then we would still not have any laws that interfere in the affairs of private businesses and refuse them to allow them to discriminate.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Definitely. I think if you're talking about the protests that are happening now, I do think that is different than the civil rights movement. It's certainly different. And whenever you're talking about the civil rights movement also, like I don't know if we can really apply something that happened 60 years ago to something that's happening right now or 50 years ago. It's very hard for me to say. I think in some cases you're probably right. In some cases, maybe not so much.
What do you mean by it's different?
It's different because the entire culture is different. The way that people are making decisions is different. The way that people can vote is different. There are all of these ways that are different.
The year is different. The calendars look different. We have computers now. So yeah, don't learn any lessons from previous civil rights movements. The fact that all of my logic would necessarily lead me to be against MLK Jr., none of that's relevant because it was a different time or something.
I mean,
so
yeah, black people were not you know, they couldn't really vote. I mean, I guess it's not that different now because there's many different ways of legally restricting black people from voting. But that's more complex. But ultimately, the methods were unlawful. The point I was trying to arrive at here is that the methods were unlawful. They were seen as unlawful. They were seen as they were met with a lot of police resistance, and ultimately that police resistance led to a shit ton of violence. And people were talking about the chaos in the exact same terms and in the exact same boundaries as they do right now with respect to the pro-Palestinian encampments. But ultimately, these students are following on the footsteps of those who fought bravely for civil rights and fought bravely against the Vietnam War. And so,
Okay. What are we going to get for this?
this is occupying the exact same spaces.
Oh, I mean, like, and I understand that. I have no problem with them doing that, but I do have a
No,
problem.
look how Hasan sighs too, because it's going to be the same thing. Yeah, okay, so I agree with every valid point you made. However, and then like, but I believe in nothing, so...
Problem doing it whenever it's destroying property and taking away other people's education.
But they, but they said that about the civil rights movement as well, is what I mean. Like, ultimately, I think I'm glad that they had the ends justify the means attitude during the civil rights movement. And I'm glad that they had an ends justify the means attitude during the Vietnam War protests or during the boycott, divestment, and sanctions protests
I think those
against.
topics are way more complex than that.
Man. You know, how can we even criticize Asmongold here when his position is just the same as the President of the United States of America's? Like, literally, like that, it's that, like, nothing that he's saying here isn't a logical extension of the mainstream position of the Democratic Party right now, you know? It's not even, like, especially bad. The, like, gleeful crackdown on the student protesters and the other, like, weirdo fascist shit is more bad, but this in particular, like, this is just, like, the modern line, you know?
Well, BDS is identical. It's the same exact. It's literally like almost definitionally identical. It's a boycott, divestment, and sanctions on apartheid South Africa in 1985. This was also another student-led movement as well, and the methods were identical too.
You know that there are some states that have passed anti-BDS laws that are almost certainly unconstitutional. Like the Zionist entrenchment in our government is so strong that there have been like outward, like, you can't do this anymore laws that are just flagrantly a violation of the First Amendment that they just do anyway. Many supporters of the State of Israel have often advocated or implemented anti-BDS laws, which effectively seek to retaliate against people and organizations engaged in boycotts of Israel-affiliated entities. Coordinated. Anti-BDS laws are designed to make it difficult for anti-Israel people and organizations to participate in boycotts. Anti-BDS legal resolutions are symbolic and non-binding parliamentary condemnations, either of boycotts of Israel or the BDS movements itself. There are some, like, really wild ones. "38 states have passed bills and executive orders designed to discourage boycotts of Israel." 38 states. "72% opposed laws penalizing people who boycott Israel. 22% supported such laws." What a great democracy we're in, you know? Like, fucking 72 to 22 is an overwhelming support for there being no anti-BDS laws, but they get passed everywhere anyway. I wonder why. I wonder if the capital class has different sets of interests to the working class, and for that reason, the average American might not understand why this obvious violation of the First Amendment is necessary, and the capital class understands that uncompromising commitment to U.S. hegemony is it needs to be legally reinforced. You know, we did this during the colonial days as well. Like, Western European nations would have laws to protect economic transactions between them and their colony states, like India or France with half of Africa or whatever. Like, because they didn't want protesters to, like, cripple their colonies economically by organizing opposition to them. So they would do something similar, you know? So much for the free market.
The only difference is South Africa did not have the benefit.
For relief money after Hurricane Harvey, some cities needed to pledge you wouldn't ever boycott Israel. Jesus Christ. Texas City tells people no Hurricane Harvey aid unless they promise not to boycott Israel. Don't want to die in a pond? Want your roof to be fixed? Well, and all of this was before October 7th. This has been going on for a long time. If you ever wonder why the capital class has consolidated so effectively to oppose the growing U.S. opposition to Israel, this is why. Because they've been getting away with it for decades. Decades and decades of coordination, of infiltration, of normalization, all of that being uprooted over 6 months because Israel is so fucking bad at managing its own affairs that it's making the American public turn against them despite the propaganda.
Of having another South Africa that they could learn the mistakes from and make sure that they don't repeat it. Israel had South Africa to look to, so they could like set up a lobbying effort and ensure that the state bends to their will as to the best of their ability.
My company has to submit this written form affirming we will not boycott Israel before we accept jobs over 100K. Jesus. Texas Government Code. Pursuant to Section 2270.001 Texas Government Code, boycott Israel means refusing to da-da-da, company means da-da-da. 1, do not boycott Israel. And 2, will not boycott Israel during the terms of the contract. Nice. A government entity may not enter into a contract with a company for goods or services unless the contract contains written verification from the company that it... Yep. Can you enforce this legally? I mean, all of this is almost certainly anti-constitutional, but none of that matters, you know? Unless people legally challenge it.
And the media apparatus as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Israel is much more influential than that. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I think that that type of mindset is very scary to me because while you're right that it does create a lot of positive outcomes, it also creates a lot of negative outcomes as well.
Do you have examples of the negative outcomes? Like as far as a democratically organized revolutionary movement?
What do you mean by that?
Like, is
like
there
the negative well, I'm just saying
like,
that
is there an example that you can give me throughout history where people organized on certain boundaries that were like democratically organized on certain boundaries and they like enforced the tyranny of majority and like something awful happened as a consequence of that?
I'm sure I could think of some. I mean, absolutely. And I think it happens all the time on a very basic level.
Could you?
For example, like during the BLM riots, people were obviously burning down buildings and doing things like that. That's something I don't really support. And I don't think that that's beneficial. And I'm never going to support that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not helping anybody. It's not doing anything for anyone. It's purely destructive. And I don't think that people have the right to do that. I think that, yeah, you should have the right to protest. But if you use the justification for the ends justify the means, then I think that anybody can use that justification, and that justification can be used for malicious reasons. And there's the only way to have a world that's fair is to have some sort of generally accepted rules, and that's what we have for laws. And I see where you're coming from with the civil rights movement, but you have to see the perspective that I have too, that if you allow people to just, justify themselves by thinking, well, our cause is righteous, so it's okay for us to do it, it would immediately cause huge amounts of chaos.
We're all understanding the liberalism-fascism link here, right? The obsession with and the institutional protection of law and order means you lose the right to protest unjust laws. Asmongold's logic is one of total subservience to the state, though he doesn't know that. Again, I'm not saying he understands any of the shit he's saying. Because the state is effortlessly capable of making illegal anything you do to oppose its interests. The real advocate for law and order from a liberal progressive perspective, not even a socialist one, just a liberal progressive perspective, is more in line with the beliefs of people like MLK Jr., who understood that you should do your best to operate in a framework that allows people to meet you where you're at. Don't engage in protests in a way that ostracizes and alienates people, even though he did anyway, just by virtue of being a civil rights protester. But if you genuinely make the call for law and order be like if you are subservient to that claim, then you are giving the state the ability to prioritize peace over justice. And that's why so many civil rights protests ended in arrests.
Yeah, because no, I understand. This is exactly the same arguments launched against the civil rights movement as well. MLK spoke on this with great frequency, where in the eyes of those who are being wronged, or in their experiences, not even in their own perspective, their regular existence is chaotic, right? And And this is from letter.
Like in case you want like to understand how bad these arguments would be if applied historically and in a consistent framework. So far, about 2,200 arrests have been made of students all across the United States. 2,500 people were arrested and went to jail in Birmingham in 1963 alone. A single ongoing protest led to more arrests. And you know, the cops always found a reason to arrest them, huh? Oh, you're loitering. Oh, you're trespassing. Oh, you're disrupting the public order. Oh, you're causing a nuisance. There's always some reason. Law and order. Now, a lot of these were kids. Like a lot of them. Hundreds of children had the clothes nearly ripped from them from fire hoses and were set upon by dogs and club-wielding cops. Hundreds were arrested, overflowing the jails. And Asmongold, had he been there, would have been cheering it on because they would have been, you know, breaking the law. He would have said, oh, well, I don't necessarily oppose what they're saying, you know. I just don't think they should have been trespassing the way they were, disrupting the public good. If the cops tell you you move, you have to move. They're upsetting the peace. He would have done exactly that, you know. 46 years later, the mayor of Birmingham gave them a chance to have their records expunged with a blanket pardon. The mayor says he expects many people to refuse request certificates of pardon because they consider their arrest records to be a badge of courage. Can you imagine, as a black man, having a record of your arrest in May 1963 in Birmingham? Like, have an employer ask you how you got that one, you know?
From Birmingham jail, where he talks specifically about the white moderate.
Birmingham jail. Birmingham jail. Where do you think those papers were written? That was the jail. That was the time. That was the protest. Some of the best civil rights writings we've ever gotten in that city from that protest. 2,500 people arrested.
He talks about the white moderate who places a timeline on another man's emancipation and another man's justice that says your methods and your means of protest are actually not right, or now is not the time. Where he very specifically talks about people who were naysayers to the civil rights movement who said like, oh no, now is not the time, or things are actually much better than they would be if black people were still enslaved, and you know, there's too much property damage happening. The point is, from their perspective at that time, for black people, especially living in the segregated South or even redlined in the North, America was consistently chaotic, and it still is for many people of color, especially living in.
Mind, like you're talking about Martin Luther King, he also explicitly was against blocking transportation, and so there were lines even that he had.
Wait, Martin Luther King also participated in the Montgomery bus boycott.
Let me see if I can.
And the Birmingham protests, because it's a letter from a Birmingham jail.
Right. I don't know if I can link this.
He led the Montgomery bus boycott for 382 days, which officially ended on December 20th, 1956. That's like.
This was MLK being anti-public transit. Actually, this is not based. Thank you.
In the chat.
In the Discord chat.
Wait, does he not know about the Montgomery bus boycotts?
What is this? Farmer King and Lewis, along with millions of Americans, struggle to figure out what would amount to legitimate, appropriate forms of nonviolent protest. Tactics dramatic enough to make their impact, but not so disruptive as to alienate supporters. Okay. Everyone could agree on the nobility, even the genius of the original sit-ins.
People didn't. No. The sit-ins were opposed. By a 2-to-1 margin. People opposed the sit-ins.
With such dignity that their moral power was overwhelming. What is this? At an early press conference, an organizer with King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference declared, "We will tie up public transportation by laying our bodies prostrate on the runways of airports across railroad tracks." This degree of disorder was too much even for King, who walked back the staffers' comments. Over the summer, as the Kennedy administration reversed course to support the march, Rustin realized that attracting hundreds of thousands of marchers he desired meant abandoning the controversial tactics that would alienate the mainstream. In the end, as comedian and activist Dick Gregory said, the march went off like a Sunday church picnic.
But they would still get arrested. Yeah, they no longer decided to lay down in front of planes or whatever. But like they still did their protests were still disruptive. That's why they got arrested. That's what happened.
Ultimately, these protests at the time were still declared disruptive, though. You understand that, right? Like every single instance, including the Montgomery bus boycott, was declared to be disruptive and at the time, and was violently suppressed by the state. Like none of these protests, not a single one of these protests actually was met with hugs and kisses, and the state being like, you know what, you guys are making a sound argument. And at the time, the coverage.
I think that whenever you justify, like you can't just do anything that you want whenever you've decided that you have the moral authority to do that. Like it's very easy to go and look at the civil rights movement and say, well, they did this to an extent, so it's okay for us to do it. But
actually, you can do that. I disagree. I actually think that you can point to the most successful civil rights movement in American history and go, they did it, therefore we can. I actually do think that. I do believe that. Yeah, I think that's actually a very good argument you can make. Just a bit of history. All right, let's not get too production value with it, please.
Also known as SCLC, brought national and black children who were trained in nonviolent tactics walked out of their classes and assembled at the 16th Street Baptist Church to march to downtown Birmingham. More than 700 children protesting racial segregation were arrested, blasted with fire hoses, clubbed by police, and attacked by police dogs. On May 3, 1963, hundreds more children began to march. Commissioner of Public Safety Eugene Bull Connor ordered police and firemen to attack the children with high-pressure hoses, batons, and police dogs.
And keep in mind, these cops weren't just saying, yeah, do it for fun. Yeah, do it for fun. You know, they were saying like, no, this is a disruption to public order. No, you're trespassing. No, you can't do that. Like, cops never say, haha, we're evil. That's not, when police crackdowns on civil rights protests happen, they don't say, haha, we're doing this for fun because we're white and racist, you know? They say, we're trying to restore order, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like, that's always how it works, every single time, you know? You can make arguments about the extent to which protests can engage in, like, legitimate tactics, or, like, which is better than this, or which is better than that, or whatever. I'm not saying that you can equivocate everything. I'm just saying that if your line of logic is, if the police have declared this unorderly, you're trespassing, therefore you deserve to have tear gas fired into your crowd, you would have been anti-civil rights protests. Like, that's just a fact. Just a fact.
if you apply this to real life, I don't think that it really works.
The civil rights protests were real life.
Just because you're morally aggrieved about something, it doesn't give you the right to destroy other people's property, to stay on their property, or to do things that hurt other people.
Well, the property is not their property. We established that. Like, this is, you know, they participated in sit-ins in colleges in the civil rights movement as well. They were doing exactly the same stuff that these students are doing, if not much more militant. There's also another side of the civil rights movement that often doesn't get discussed in mainstream media or in our schools in general, that also played a significant role, according to MLK as well, which was the more militant action where Black people would demonstrate with weapons or directly get into active confrontation with the police and like shootouts and whatnot. Now, that did play a role in increasing pressure points for the state to look at the more reasonable parties, the peaceful demonstrations, and concede to the demands being made by all of the parties. So all of this played an active role. You can't have one without the other is what I mean. But even in this circumstance, we're looking at only one aspect, the civil disobedience.
I would genuinely encourage you guys, if you could, because I don't know all of it myself. I don't have the best memory, you know, but look at some of the major moments of arrest back during the civil rights movements and just have like contemporary discourse leap out of the page at you, you know? On March 15th, 1960, students from South Carolina State and Claflin College organized to desegregate the lunch counter at Crescott 5 and 10 in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Though their efforts were disciplined and peaceful, 400 were attacked by police with fire hoses and herded into a stockade in one of the largest mass arrests in the civil rights movement. So what did they do exactly? The Civil Rights Movement Archive website provides a detailed description. Here's an excerpt. Students are welcome to spend their money at the Crest store in downtown Orangeburg, but they can't eat at the white-only lunch counter. On February 25th and 26th, some 40 students from the two schools tried to sit in at the Crest lunch counter, but the counter is closed and the stools removed. The white power structure declares that the demonstrators are the work of outside agitators, possibly communist-inspired. The city passes an ordinance to prohibit picketing. In mid-March, Crest and other stores reopened their lunch counters. On March 15th, a cold, wet winter day, Claflin Student Council President Tom Gaither and SCSC freshman Charles Chuck McDew lead almost 1,000 students on a peaceful march downtown to protest segregation and support the wave of sit-ins occurring in Rock Hill, Columbia, Sumter, Spartanburg, and across the South as a whole. Walking 2 by 2 on the sidewalk from their rally point on the Claflin campus, they march in groups of 50 to 75 so they can't be accused of disrupting traffic. The cops order them to halt and return to campus. They refuse. The cops attack them with clubs and tear gas. The fire department knocks them off their feet with freezing water from high-pressure hoses. Holding to the self-discipline of nonviolence, a hardcore of protesters stood their ground. Almost 400 are arrested in the largest freedom movement mass arrest up till that time. Soaking wet from the hoses and rain, shivering from the 40-degree weather, they are forced into an outdoor stockade that, according to local lore, had at one time been the site of slave auctions. They cling together for warmth and sing God Bless America, the Star-Spangled Banner, and newly learned freedom songs like We Shall Overcome. Supporters who try to pass them food and blankets are also arrested. Swift railroad-style trials for the arrested protesters begin 3 days later on March 18th. What does that even mean? My understanding is that refers to the way the railroad companies had jurisdiction over the areas around the tracks they laid, so they were effectively like company towns they could control. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Like a kangaroo court is my understanding. They are defended by attorney Matthew Perry of the NAACP. The judge throws him in jail for pursuing his case vigorously. Convicted of breach of the peace, the protesters appeal the verdicts and refuse to pay their $50 fines, equal to about $444 in 2021. Eventually, the U.S. Supreme Court overturns the convictions because the sidewalk march was a peaceful, orderly petition for redress of grievances within the protection of the First Amendment. Wouldn't bet on this happening today, by the way. Just saying. It means they were lined up and run through the court one after the other. Okay, just like literally, just like pinballing them. Okay, gotcha. Do you feel contemporary politics leaping out the page at you?
You're right. You're right whenever you say you can't have one without the other, but I don't think that being an inevitability justifies the other. So
but they haven't even reached that point, is what I'm saying. We're currently in the beginning stages. We're currently in the stage where we're getting upset and using ruthless police tactics to stop peaceful demonstrations from occurring. Like these demonstrations have not even met like the civil disobedience metrics of the civil rights movement even.
Yeah, I think that really, I mean, I'll go back to what I said initially. I don't think that a group of students should be able to go into the university and just start camping out there.
But ultimately, the point is like there's nothing that they can do, right? Like, as I asked, like, what can they do then? And you said that they should just go to a different university. Well, what happens when that university also has endowments?
So I was looking for some stuff online to continue making this point, and I saw this wonderful New York Times article that released 1 hour ago. The Columbia protests made the same mistake the civil rights movement did. You know, I think the participants at the Columbia protests would be honored to make the same mistakes the civil rights movement leaders did. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, wow, it's Asmongold. I share the campus protesters' opinion that the war in Gaza has become an atrocity. Israel has had every right to defend itself after Hamas's massacre, which was itself the atrocity. However, with the death of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians, with unaccountably more maimed and homeless, Beyond a certain point, however, we must ask whether the escalating protests are helping to change these circumstances. It's been like a week. Colombia's administration agreed to review proposals about divestment. Okay, yeah. Fuck, man, these bootlickers.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, the world is not obligated to appeal to you. The world, like, if other people don't want to do what you want, then it's not like everybody has to find a way that it's okay for you to do that.
What are you talking about?
If other people don't want to agree with you,
what is he literally? What the fuck is he talking about right now? Yeah, I know you want to like protest a genocide, but like you can't make it so but like other people don't agree with you. What are you talking about?
Not your right to force them to agree with you. That's crazy.
Yeah, this isn't about forcing other people to agree with you. It's more so about getting the state to follow through on what the majority opinion is in many instances. Or in some instances, not the majority.
Yeah, this is like white moderate rhetoric from somebody who doesn't even know how to make the white moderate talking points. It's crazy.
Majority opinion, but it's like the morally righteous thing to do. Like in the civil rights movement, I would say. Despite the fact that it was not the majority opinion, I think you and I both agree that the civil rights movement was objectively a good thing, and the methods were infinitely more disruptive at the time than what the pro-Palestinian side has done so far in terms of college campuses and everywhere around.
That is guaranteed. You're totally right about that. Obviously, it's not as bad as civil rights. It's not even remotely as close. I also don't think it's as extreme. Like obviously, civil rights was something that was happening in America to Americans at that exact moment. What's happening over at Israel is much more disconnected from us. I don't really ever see that.
The disconnection.
He means as bad as in terms of like as violent or as extreme or whatever.
Disconnection does stem. You're right. One is a domestic issue. One is foreign policy. The disconnection stems from the fact that most people don't really truly understand that, like, as Eisenhower once famously said, every dollar being spent on a rocket is a dollar that could be spent on building American roads, building American bricks.
That's what I get for looking at fucking history.com for an article.
But I think that
not
the way that you
mute
stop
on
that is by
autoplay.
voting for people that
Jesus.
also agree with you and that are going to push those policies through. I don't think that it's reliable enough, and I don't think it's effective enough to try to do what they're doing and hope that, because like, and I can only speak for like myself and what I've seen. I feel like the way that a lot of those people, the protesters, have conducted themselves and what they're doing, I think a lot of people don't like it, and I feel like it's
That's great. Okay, I've had enough. It's the whole thing. I'm amazed that Hasan was able to tolerate this for a full, what was it, 150 minutes? Look, okay, at the end of the day, like the racists and fascists and white nationalists who oppose you because they scream and shout, I'm racist, they're a gift to you optically. The worst and most insidious people are the ones who are too dishonest or too stupid to understand they're employing the white moderate rhetoric. The people like Joe Biden, like our president, who you, statistically speaking, probably voted for. It's the most insidious behavior of all. And MLK agreed with that, which is why he said that specifically. I live in Canada. You mean you didn't come down over here and vote for him despite living in Canada? Uwakis, this is like the 5th time you've linked it. I don't care. Thank you. Dumb Canadians losing us our elections. Well, we did win with Biden, but, Hey. All right. Guess we can't avoid it any longer. As much as I love avoiding it. Just a little quick one here, but, over in the objectively shittiest state in the Union, Mississippi, Rep Mike Collins over here is I'm just gonna front load the content here. I don't even fucking care. Okay, here we have a bunch of Hitlerite frat boys. Like these are all clanners. Okay, these guys would, if given the opportunity for like an evening out, would lynch a black man. All right, they all have racial cuckold kinks. Like these people, they breach 4chan. Honestly, they would be channers if it weren't for the fact that a lot of these inbred hicks are too stupid to use a computer. Anyway, here's the representative praising these guys for what you're about to see, which is making monkey noises and dances at a black woman. There you go. So yeah, as you can tell by the fact that every single one of those guys in the background looks the same, a lot of these are frat boys. This was tweeted positively by a rep. You know, this is like being said affirmatively. Mississippi, yeah, Mississippi. Most university campuses are going to be pretty liberal. This is Mississippi, and this college has a 97% acceptance rate. You know. Any retard with fetal alcohol syndrome can limp their way into this one. You know, all these boys are here to get drunk and rape women. You know, it's like, hey, it's Ole Miss, Mississippi. Oh my God, you weren't joking? Did it sound like I was joking? Would you rather see one of these men or a bear? Hey, can we bring back our man or bear analogy, except this time it is a polar bear? Because I don't know. I feel like... I don't know, man. I feel like these guys are making a compelling bear argument. Yeah, these guys versus 10 bears. Kind of crazy how literally the entire crowd is men, huh? Like, isn't that why? Like, seriously, look at the crowd, you know? The reason the crowd looks like this is because these are mostly chauvinist frat bros. This isn't even a pro-Israel crowd. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's a clip out there where one of these dipshits starts shouting that one of the guys in the pro-Palestinian crowd has a big nose. I don't think these guys care about Israel or Palestine or anything. I just think they recognize that there's a disproportionate number of left-leaning brown people in the pro-Palestine protest. Genuinely, you know? Like this. It's shit like this, you know? Look at that. The crowd is almost entirely white men. And then you take a look, the very few pro-Palestinian protesters, by the way, and it's like overwhelmingly, disproportionately non-white, non-men. You know? That's actual 1930s Hitler shit. Yeah, in a way, it's another like optical gift too, because it's almost a direct parallel of stuff like this, you know? It's a reminder, really, that Sherman didn't go far enough, if anything else. Mississippi is truly the blightiest blight in our union. A lot of people, there are a lot of like Midwestern communist Americans who don't understand how bad the South is. Like because there's this like prevailing sentiment of like, oh, the working class stands together. And it's like this almost class reductionist attitude where it's like, look, they're working class down there. Yeah, they're working class, but they're fucking clanners, you know? The South is really bad in a lot of, admittedly, this is Mississippi, so this is damn near as bad as it gets. But, you know, it's, yeah, not, yeah. Most of the land in the South is basically a third world country. Yeah, it's pretty insane. It's a wretched place. You literally just take away the phone and turn the photo black and white, and it's like the right out of the civil rights movement. Yeah, fully. This is new. IDF Spec Ops vet confirmed. Oh, this is the guy I was talking about. Yeah. Ran a quiet infiltration operation into the UCLA encampment, and now down here with LASD, who's staging now and preparing to make entry on the pro-terror anti-Semitic encampment.
Have the opportunity What's up, guys? Aaron Cohen here.
What's up?
Counterterrorism analyst, law enforcement instructor. I'm down here at UCLA right now, and
remember, the IDF train with American police pretty often. Like, there's so many ties that run back and forth between them. For context on how bad Mississippi is, yeah, the Mississippi flag was the fucking Confederate battle flag up until pretty recently. Yeah. Like very recently, yeah. Like just a few years ago.
have the opportunity to spend a minute here with LASD, some of my associates, and I just want to take a minute right now to make it very clear that these guys here, this is one of the finest. This is the largest sheriff's office in the country right here. Special Enforcement Bureau, there's SWAT team, you got SRT down here, you've got some search and rescue elements. These are some of the finest trained individuals, not just in the city of Los Angeles.
Law enforcement instructor, he's one of those warrior police instructors. No. There are a ton of these guys. They're all former IDF or former police, and they go back and forth between, and they like share info and training and stuff. Like there's this entire microeconomy of consultancy of people whose job it is to convince IDF soldiers to brutalize Palestinian children and American police to brutalize black children, and it's the same guys. This level of synchronicity of this back and forth, a lot of the reason that we like protect Israel to the degree we do is because of deep connections with law enforcement and the military industrial complex. Really deep ones, you know? So you have dipshits like this who are like, you know, again, they all come out of the woodwork, right? And then you have these counter protests and you're surprised to see like, oh wow, all of these counter protesters are like literal fucking ops. Like they work with the police, they're in line with the police, they're not like local. You know, it's insane, but it's also a consequence of decades of economic integration.
Los Angeles, but in the country, sheriff's office around the country, they follow LA County Sheriff. You can see behind me, there's a little bit of staging going on. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of the staging, just to keep everything nice and sterile as operations here are ongoing. But I just want to take a minute, let you guys know, down here with LASD, and you know, everybody here is ready to do whatever needs to be done to get this situation diffused safely and with the highest degree of selectivity. But again, LASD, this is the biggest sheriff's agency in the country, some of the finest deputies that I've worked with. And they're...
All right, that's enough. Thank you. Report working with IDF to counter protests. Yeah, I saw this one too. From Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine. From the report, Dean Rosenmetsch has convened meetings with GS veterans who served in the IDF, directing them to counter pro-Palestine student activities and disrupt pro-Palestinian advocacy on campus. The administration for Columbia was literally hiring IDF soldiers or former IDF vets and directing them to like disrupt the counter protests. I think this was going on even before the student protests really began. Like this was back when the protests were like before the encampment. I mean, like they were on this like really quickly, you know? The anti-Semitic weirdo conspiracy theorists, a la Jake Shields, are going to go wild with this. Yeah, it's crazy because, like, first of all, nothing that I'm saying is a conspiracy. It's literally, like, open and out there. Like, you know, it's not, this isn't like an open your eyes thing. You can literally just Google, like, hey, do all these ties exist? Yes. So there's not really a conspiracy there. I mean, no more than the Marxist conception of like capital interests conspiring to protect themselves, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's Marxism, which is always right. First of all. And second of all, like, yeah, the rhetoric overlaps with conspiracy rhetoric in large part because of actual anti-Semites, because Nazis are going to run wild with this shit. Like, it's like, whoa, look at all this control. Look at how they're all like connected, blah, blah. And it's like, obviously, it's like a subjugation or corruption of actual material analysis. Like, that's not actually what's going on. But yeah, they're going to be insufferable about it. Truly incredible stuff. Truly, truly incredible stuff.
Lizzo, 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 Lizzo.
Why are they saying that, I wonder? So curious.
Fuck you, fat ass! Fuck you! And fuck you, bitch!
Oh, we saw this one. Really makes you think. Yeah, they're just all little Hitlerites. You know, the protesters at Ole Miss who went out there in spite of knowing what their campus was like are brave as fuck. You know, it's one thing to be pro-Palestine at, like, Columbia or UCLA, which is still incredibly brave, but look at this. Yeah. You know, not only is it incredibly brave of them to be here, but I really do think it shows what kind of people support Israel. You know, you're here, stop the genocide, and meanwhile you have a bunch of these, like, inbred frat bros hooting racist, you know, slurs or whatever the fuck. It really shows, like, who's on whose side. These guys don't give a fuck about Israel. They're just white supremacists, and the white supremacists are overwhelmingly on the side of the pro-Israeli group. Like, why the fuck are they singing, like, American, like they've got American flags on? What are they doing? You know, it's not even about the protest them. I think, in a way, the counter-protesters here are the most honest ones, because what's really, like, represented in the Palestine-Israel divide is just hegemony versus progressivism, you know? Racism versus anti-racism. These guys are just, like, stupid enough to just make it clear that that's the case, that it's not actually about defending Israel, it's just about defending American political interests, which include white supremacy. You know, it's like, why engage in, like, the artifice of pretending any of this has to do with defending Israel when the most active Zionists are evangelicals, people who would sacrifice Jews for the rapture? You know, no, like, let's be straightforward here. No, what we really defend is America and you know, the white establishment. We're just going to show up here and prove it. There are so many like this, man.
USA! 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 USA!
It's all like that. I'm trying to look at the kinds of people on Twitter who are supporting these guys. I really just think it makes them look bad. Don't assume they're more than NPCs. Oh, these people are barely people, honestly. Ridiculous. And now they're waving American flags. Hey, I would bet you almost anything that this is like the next op. The pro-Israeli side knows they can't get any kind of crowd out there at these student protests by being pro-Israel because most Americans are just not pro-Israel. So they need to get the out and about, like, Christian nationalists, you know? I bet you a lot of these people aren't students at the campus. They're literally just, they're basically doing the, like, marauding agitator thing that the Proud Boys do. You know, which is why they're all showing up here with American flags, which is incoherent in the context of the protest. And coincidentally, they're like all white boys. Except for the one Asian guy who infuriatingly seems to have decent tailoring on. Well, such is life. Trousers should be higher rise. No, they really don't, facetious. You know, guys, it is kind of racist when you notice an Asian person, so you start, like, listing Asian people you know. That's Ian Miles Chong. Is it? Is it really? Is that Yang? Nah. No, it's not, actually. You know, it is just racism. I did grow with a guitar. Man, fascism is so fucking opportunist and incoherent. A lot of the Twitter accounts that are, like, celebrating the Ole Miss white boy frat crowd are Nazis. You would think that if anything, like, open Nazis, you'd think that if anything, they would be against anything that's, like, ostensibly pro-Israel. But you know how it is. Any chance of looking at the local election results in a dead country? Do I have to? Cons seem to have had their hold cut in half. I don't really know when the when all of the elections are tiered or scheduled here. I don't really know. I guess it just doesn't really matter to me anymore. Like, I don't care at all because the Labour Party doesn't really seem to be materially better than the Tories anyway. I also saw this, which is also in line with you and your dead, dying country. Concerns as cross-sex hormones available online for just £11 a month. Ah, yes, see? After going after the NHS and the ability to legally obtain hormones through prescription, now they're going after DIY HRT. Experts fear children questioning their gender may turn to hidden economy buying stuff online to obtain hormones illegally. The Cass review concluded there was a lack of reliable evidence supporting the use of cross-sex hormones by young people questioning their gender identity. And it did this only by ignoring all the evidence available on the subject. Yeah, exactly. Who would have guessed making treatments illegal would lead to people seeking them out illegally? That's crazy. Guardian research found online pharmacies in places ranging from India to Hong Kong and Portugal offering hormone treatments without a prescription, typically ranging from about £10 to £30 for 28 days supply of a starting dose of feminizing hormones. Yeah, it turns out it's really cheap and easy to make and easy to access and really, really easy, like easily available. You know, it's just like entirely political gatekeeping. Oh yeah, Vermin, that shit is cringe as hell. One of the big companies that sells DIY HRT has box art that's literally like lolly anime girls doing like Hagao faces or whatever to truly play into the worst possible stereotypes of the trans femme community online. It's funny almost for how egregious it is, but yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. You probably shouldn't do that. On top of the cast review, several more members have been discovered as members of an anti-trans lobbying group. Really? Several more members of the cast review have been discovered as being part of SEGM, an anti-trans lobbying group. The entire review was an SEGM plant, and its legitimacy should be called into question by all international medical groups. Oh, well, it already has, hasn't it? Like, immediately. Oh, my God. Nice. That's great. And you all still gonna fall for it. But isn't the damage already done? Yeah, kind of. That's so cool. Oh yeah, sure, Vermin. Man, genuinely, if you're trans, you gotta get the fuck out. You gotta, like, paddle over to France on a rowboat or something. Jesus Christ. UK is a dead country? Yeah. Do you think the sit-ins MLK did the same as what the students are doing? Shouldn't they not resist arrest? Sit-ins are different from encampments. I don't give a shit if the students barricade themselves. You'll notice the students weren't barricaded until the cops started probing at them. Also, a lot of the barricades erected by the protesters, they did in response to Zionist counter-protesters attacking them, something the cops did nothing about. So, like, you know, I don't know. Again, if sort of like encampment or entrenching yourself is something you will allow the police to direct the narrative around, then you will allow them to make literally anything illegal, you know? And if the police can't arrest you because you're objectively doing nothing wrong and they can't even do anything about it, they'll sick counter protesters on you until they find you fighting them back, and then they'll arrest you. You think they won't? That's what they did. The UCLA protests were peaceful, and then the cops sat back and watched for hours as fireworks were tossed in, protesters were dragged out by outside agitator Zionist counter-protesters, and then only after tensions had been agitated to a point where there were fortifications, encampments build up, do they come down and crack down on all of it. They didn't arrest any of those fucking, I think they arrested one guy who, like, sprayed something on some protesters. I don't know if they arrested more than that. I remember there being one guy who got arrested. You can't let the state dictate. You can't let the law and order bullshit dictate what is or isn't right. That's what they did during the BLM riots in 2020. Remember that 93% of the protests were fully peaceful? Yeah, and the 7% that were peaceful, in a lot of cases, were the cops instigating violence and then cracking down on the results. The cops would... there are literally, like, trained cop tactics where they will cordon and hem in protest groups until they're forced into a corner, and you're basically guaranteeing violence. Yeah, kettling, thank you, kettling. You're literally guaranteeing violence because you're forcing a huge crowd of people into a small space. This happened constantly during BLM. And then, of course, violence outbreaks because you're literally crushing people into a small space, and then the police are like, oh, violent protest, fucking let off the nukes, you know? If the police want violence, and they always do, because it gives them pretext, they will find it. Why wouldn't the cops want violence? They're armored. They're armored, trained, in line with their comrades, and they have full legal permission to do anything they want. It might as well be a shooting gallery for them, you know? For them, it's like hunting a pheasant you let loose in the woods, you know? It's purely a game. It's sport. They dream about it. What do you think riot cops jerk off to? Pussy? No, to killing you. All right. True, though. True. Pretty true. Pretty true, I'd say. Pretty true. Serious question: if colleges are hedge funds with education tacked on, why is tuition so high? Because they hate you, and they want... The real reason is because it's just a market thing. They will raise tuition to the highest point that they can until they're no longer able to fill up all of their available, like, spots for students. So if they have space for 20,000 students, you know, and they charge everyone like $5,000 a year for tuition or whatever, like, okay, they fill up the 20,000. But if they could charge 50,000 and still fill up those slots, they will. It's purely just like market forces involved. Why not make money off that too? It certainly has nothing to do with, like, the cost of running the university. There's no relationship there at all. Like, not even a little bit. I know these have been negative streams lately. I apologize. What am I to do? Tis the season. Well, we've got one more bad story to go over. Is there really no relationship? No, there's none. What about what? Okay, tuition has skyrocketed. How have universities gotten more expensive to run? In what way? Exactly. Yeah, no. No. We're not even just talking about inflation here. We're talking about skyrocketing prices. No. In fact, isn't there literally data on how the like expenses of universities have increased only in their administrative end? Same with hospitals too. You see like, oh yeah, the cost of running a hospital or a university has gone up over time, like a lot. And then you look at a breakdown of where that money is going, and almost all of the growth is in administration salaries. Literally just like leeches scraping money off the top, you know? I need it though. Thank you, Edmund. All right. One more bad story. One more bad story. But it's a big one. What? Oh my God. Members go up. Good timing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to. Oh my God. Thank you so much for the 100 tier 1 subs. Jesus Christ. Yeah, pretty soon the white name plague is going to be fixed, you know? This is it. It's finally time. Thank you. Jesus. Not even a message attached to it either, unless there are so many listed members who received the donation that it doesn't even show your message, but I don't think it missed it. I just think that was very generous of you. Yeah, white name purge to improve the mood. Exactly. You have a blue name, Alec Gunter. Couple more of those in white. Let's not get greedy, Vermin Hands. Members go up. This is much appreciated. You know, lots of important stuff going on, namely new release of summer clothes from Buck Mason. I need them. You know how it is. You know how it is. You know, you know, you know how it is. You know, you understand. You get it. Fashion addict. Look, some of this stuff is really nice. Okay. Seriously, thank you. Yeah, for $500, I will buy one T-shirt. No. Seriously, thank you. I'm goofing. The real cost is Pigeon's vet bill. Yeah, we got her a full blood panel and everything. And she seems to be good, as far as we can tell, which is nice because she looks like a fucking wretch. But you know, it's just maybe that's just a visual thing. Thank you. Seriously. All right. Fucking mustache itches. Oh my God. Thank you. See, look at how many more orange names there are. See, now that it's caught up. Okay. Oh wait, this is paywalled. God damn it. Okay. We might have only a week left, guys. We might be on that final countdown. Israel's planned invasion of Rafah risks killing hundreds of thousands. A UN humanitarian aid agency says hundreds of thousands of people would be at imminent risk of death if Israel carries out a military assault in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, which is, by the way, something they want to do. From this article, which I can't read, Israel gives Hamas a week to strike a deal, or Rafah offensive will begin. Hamas's Gaza chief hasn't responded to a ceasefire proposal presented last week. And can somebody provide me? Oh, wait, it's right here. It's linked right here. What the actual deal is? Blinken pushes for Gaza ceasefire deal in visit to Israel. Biden administration, rocked by campus protests, pursues agreement to stop the fighting. Well, that's nice. Right, this would also be, yeah. Can somebody find me the detail there? The details of the deal, please, kindly? I would appreciate that very much. Here's what I think is happening, okay? Now, this is just my guess. I genuinely don't know, all right? So first of all, as we know, this is not my guess, this I do know, is the Israeli government and a lot of its people are monstrous, bloodthirsty animals who want to kill because ethno-nationalism is literally the founding principle of the Israeli government. Like, it's kind of built into the system there, not exactly like stochastic or individual. They want to go into Rafah. They want to clear out the entirety of the Gaza Strip. They want the Palestinians dead or gone. However, pressure has mounted for some time to please have them not do that, in large part from the Biden administration, because the Biden administration might be cucked by Israel at this point, but that doesn't change the fact that it would make things a lot harder for Biden in terms of re-election, for example, if they were to engage in a massive bloodbath in the southernmost portion of the Gaza Strip. So I think that Biden has been pressing against the invasion of Rafah. However, after the removal of several IDF battalions from the region, something that gave me the impression they were backing off, at least for a little while, I think something changed. I think that the student protests over here in America are shifting the dynamic, but they might be doing it in a way that's more harmful. Not necessarily the fault of the students, mind, but I think that Netanyahu might be reading the writing on the wall. Like, if these protests continue to be as much of a problem for Biden as they have been, it's possible that Biden's support of Israel is going to wane with time, that it's going to waver, that he's not going to be consistent, he's not going to be willing to continue to supply arms or political pretexts, that he might be pushed away from Zionist positions. Now, I think Biden would deny that. In fact, when he gave that awful dissent must not lead to disorder speech, he finished it by saying, in response to reporters who asked, no, this has not changed any of my principles or beliefs in what's going on. No, like nothing has changed, right? But I think that Netanyahu might be worried that that's not the case, that the deadline might be advancing, and that if he's going to invade Rafah, it has to be sooner rather than later. Do I know any of this for sure? No. I'm just kind of guessing. It could be true, could not be. That's a thought that I have. I think there's a possibility that's the case. I think that Netanyahu desperately wants to clear out the Gaza Strip. I think that he was going to at any point, but now that he thinks the timeline is advancing, he feels a need to go in there quickly. So what are the details of this deal? Let's see. Free hostages held by Hamas in exchange for a halt to the fighting, or what are the actual details? Right, it's Palestinian prisoners for the hostages. How many hostages, though? Is this the one where it said like 21 to 35 or something like that because there were allowances made for the possibility that not many were alive? Here we go. The initial stage of the deal would last for 40 days. Hamas would start by releasing female civilian hostages. Ugh. What? In exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. After this first batch, Israeli troops would withdraw from a coastal road in Gaza and head inland to facilitate the entry of humanitarian aid. There is some threat of a military coup against Netanyahu. I don't know if it'd be a coup. Serious rift between Netanyahu and the heads of the security establishment who argue against him. He does not decide. This is translated from Hebrew. I would need to see, like, this is an extreme claim to make. I would have to look into it further. Second 6-week phase. Huh. Yeah, this reeks of desperation to me. I think that's what's going on here. I think we're seeing desperation. Jesus Christ, is this real? Why the music? This might be from a different conflict. I'm not sure if this is from Rafah. Oh, it certainly looks like it. Oh, he's with the music? Yeah, and the fucking tag on it. Could be Syria. All war footage is assumed to be from Syria unless otherwise proven, okay? Whatever. Also, got that missile strike like right there, you know? Yeah, right here. Israel says the Rafah invasion is critical for these goals. Netanyahu says Israel will invade the town with or without a hostage deal. Then why should Hamas strike any deal at all? If Netanyahu is just admitting that he's going to continue the war anyway. Like, this is a terrible bargaining position. It feels like America is desperately saying, like, come on, work this out. And Netanyahu's like, okay, it doesn't matter what we do, I'm still going to invade. And America's pretending that's a legitimate position from which they can argue, you know? Like, oh yeah, like that's them being reasonable. That's them trying to negotiate. Rationally, why doesn't he just do it then? What's holding him back? Logistics. Apparently only a week of logistics. Yeah, I don't know. There's basically no way that an invasion of Rafah isn't going to be a bloodbath. Biden has told Israel they will stop weapon shipments if they invade Rafah. I mean, at that point, will it even matter? Israeli officials confirm U.S. told Israel that any uncoordinated operation in Rafah will lead to... So any uncoordinated operations, i.e., you know, there are ways to weasel out of this in the future, will lead to delays in weapon shipments and possible restrictions on using U.S. weapons. Significant. Right, yeah. Nothing's going to change. If this happens, it'll make things worse in terms of protest. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think the desperation might be from the ICC, not from the student protesters. Maybe. It's possible. Rep Brian Mast. This is, where is this guy from again? Florida, of course. Thank you. Yeah, I recognize Brian Mast, but yeah. Just making sure. So the ICC over here is basically saying, we are not politically biased. We are conducting our operations in accordance with our principles, da-da-da-da-da, right? And then Brian Mast in response is saying, let me translate for those who don't speak legal gibberish. The International Kangaroo Court is saying, don't criticize or sanction us. If you do, we will come after you. The International Criminal Court doesn't respect the sovereignty of individual nations. It thinks it's above them. It really is crazy how much America has traded its legitimacy on the world stage for defending Israel, man. It's like genuinely remarkable. Like any pretense of international consistency, like of a rules-based international order, is completely fucking gone. Why can't Israel wait until November? Not saying it's morally right, but if Israel wants to keep America as an ally, they should wait until the U.S. election, then do whatever they want. You're wrong on that, actually. It's the opposite. Netanyahu wants Trump to win, like pretty clearly. It's not ambiguous. Anything that disrupts Biden's chances of winning, which a worsening of the conflict in Palestine would be to their interests. Yeah, fascists want fascists to win. At this point, what can Trump do for Bibi more than Biden has done? Honestly, not much. My semi-serious prediction before that Biden might have actually been worse than Trump on this, I think it's been proven true. Not only has Biden, like, done nothing to stop Netanyahu, despite all the waffling from liberal cuckolds who are like, oh, well, secretly behind the closed doors, he's done nothing. And now he's turning against student protesters as well, invoking right-wing rhetoric against them. Like, I don't know. All Trump could have really done is this, but less competently. Like, genuinely. Like, what else, you know? Hey, if Trump did this, at least dumbass libs would have reflexively opposed it. You know the narrative would have changed on that one. If Trump had been the one responsible for all this bullshit, the liberals would have been like, that horrible Netanyahu Trump supporter MAGA across the Atlantic, blah, blah. Right, but now that Biden's doing it, we have to deal with all this waffling civility politics bullshit. Trump probably would have given them full support to erase Rafah by now. Who cares? They're going to do it anyway. Like, it's not like Israel is lacking weapons and needs... It's not like giving Israel more weapons is not something that, A, we're not already doing, and B, something they need to finish Rafah. You agree that Trump would have handled the protests worse, right? Dude, I don't know. It's been like a week, and Biden has been full-throatedly defending monstrous police crackdowns, doing the whole law and order bit. Genuinely, I'm not sure. I don't know. I know Trump would have said worse stuff about it. What would he have done? I don't even know. Maybe National Guard deployment? Even that, I wonder. I don't know. Also, fuck, the National Guard isn't as Hitlerite as modern police are. Is the National Guard really that much worse than, like, bringing in the State Guard, or, like, the Sheriff's Department, or, like, the fucking California Highway Patrol? The average cop is way more Hitlerite than the average National Guardsman, and it's not like they both don't have military equipment now, right? Back in the 1960s, the police just had their little revolvers, you know? Nowadays, police have modern military equipment, so it's like, I don't know, maybe the National Guard is basically just, like, less Hitlerite. Like, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know anymore. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know. National Guard is probably lower age range, true. Oh, yeah, that's true, because your median cop is like some fucking 35-year-old chud thumb, and your median National Guardsman is probably younger. Probably smarter, too. Probably more disciplined, too. Fuck! Oh, my God. The ultimate timeline, Trump sends in the National Guard and they link arms with the protesters and demand freedom for Palestine. Yeah, that's the definitely real timeline that definitely would have happened. Oh my God. Well, I'm looking forward to my Biden vote come November. The Kendall Jenner Pepsi commercial timeline. It would have happened. We could have made it happen. During the BLM protests in D.C., they called in the National Guard and kids were literally mouthing chants along with us. No kidding? Huh. That's rad. Make sure to shake your head when casting your ballot so everyone knows that you don't support Biden personally. Everyone needs to practice their head shake when they cast their ballot come November, so that everyone you know, like, you all need to, like, because you want to make sure that everyone in that little curtained booth that you're in knows that you're not yeah. No voting RFK Jr. You know, RFK Jr. is a massive Zionist, right? Apologies for your Facebook link, but here's a video of it. Facebook link!
He's saying it. I'm black and I'm proud.
Oh, just a short little... That's cool, you know? That's what we could have gotten if only Trump had called in the National Guard to the college campus protests. If only. No. It's true, Nerodia. The cops are more evil than the military and National Guard. 100%. Yeah. A lot of links. A lot of links, guys. A lot of links. What do you think about a potential Joe Biden Donald Trump debate? If they do debate and don't cancel it like pussies, if they actually do debate, it's going to be really, really funny, because I know for a fact that Trump is going to make fun of Joe Biden for his handling of the Israeli conflict and the student protests and everything, while believing worse things, you know? Like, he's unironically going to do the, like, disingenuous outflank from the left move, but only out of spite, not because of any kind of, like, principle. It's just going to be incoherent bullshit, you know? Fuck, that'd be funny. The campus you talked about is anti-LGBT? George Galloway? Yeah, we knew that. I think I covered that in the segment we went over him, like, multiple times. Yeah, dude's super transphobic. Anger is George Galloway says gay relationships aren't normal and kids shouldn't learn about them. What is he cooking?
So what specifically do you not like that's taught to children in schools?
Well, I don't want my children prematurely sexualized at all. I don't want them taught that some things are normal when their parents don't believe that they're normal. Now, there's lots of things not normal. Doesn't mean you have to hate something that isn't normal. But if my children are taught that there's whatever the current Vogue number is, 76 or 97 or whatever the number of purported genders that exist, I don't want my children taught that.
But are they taught that?
Some of them are, yeah.
Are they
Right the fit. George Galloway dresses relatively well. You can tell that the suit's of a high make too, because the buttonhole here has had its edges sewn. See that dimpling right there? I don't know if the texture at the edges here indicates hand construction. I don't think it does, but at least some care has been put into it. Fedora rating. He's wearing a correct. This hat wear is appropriate with this clothing. Obviously, it's old fashioned, but it isn't like LARPy. It looks fine. This is what you would wear this hat for, you know. It's not like the fedora thing where people would wear, like, I don't know, like a white button up and a blazer and wear this. This is a proper worsted wool business suit. This guy, on the other hand, apart from the fucking collar gap, you should not wear a business suit. Is he buttoned it while sitting down? Okay. It looks like it fits the shoulders well, but you should not wear this without a tie. This is a business suit. Look at the material. It's shiny. See, he's got no tie. He's got like 3 buttons undone or whatever, 2 buttons undone. It's not appropriate for a suit of this kind, you know? You can get a non-business suit to do this in, and it would look good. Yeah, this is like the Piers Morgan fit, you know? If you're wearing this type of suit, it should be with a tie.
Saying, I think kids should be going to school and taught that, you know, not all relationships.
The fit is good. I mean, apart from the collar gap, like the shoulder, I think the line on the shoulder looks good, but...
look like a heteronormative couple, male, female. There's a huge gap between saying they should know that there's lots of LGBT...
ties are basically dead now. Then don't wear worsted wool suits. Yeah, sure, I don't like ties either. Then don't wear worsted wool suits. Galloway is dressed appropriately here. He's wearing worsted wool, the business suit material. It's got a nice sheen. He's wearing a tie. He's wearing a nice spread collar dress shirt. And he's wearing a business hat, you know, a nice formal hat, right? That looks good. Is a bow tie acceptable? Context dependent. With a dinner jacket. Thanks, Twitter. I will wear the suit, I'll not wear the tie. Then don't wear a worsted wool suit. Just wear a different type of suit. It looks better. Suit with no tie. Here we go. You all earned this. Oh God, Google results are not giving me what I want here. Oh, permanent style article. Yes, perfect. I have no idea how this guy gets the money to afford the suits that he buys. Here you go, okay? Plenty of examples of suits looking good. without a tie, depending on the material. This is some kind of linen blend, you know? It's not a business suit. See? More casual suiting. See? See? That looks really good. Right here? Is that a business suit? It looks like one, but it's dressed down, and he's got a chambray shirt on, not a white dress shirt. I would say that, okay. I would say that if you want to wear a business suit without a tie, you can't wear the white dress shirt. This is chambray. That looks good, okay? This guy also knows a lot more than I do, so whatever. Tweed? See? That works. Though this is not a dress shirt right here. It's like, what, drop twill, maybe? Oh, hell yeah. Look at this guy's mustache. Look at that. And see, right here, he's wearing either a Henley or a polo. I can't tell. Oh, it's a polo. It's a polo. I see the collar here. See, but notice how this suit material, it's not shiny. See, it has that texture? Doesn't that look really, doesn't this look good? Not only is the fit good, you don't have the little shirt triangle right here. It fits properly and all that business, right? You have a complementary pocket square rather than one that just matches the shirt. You don't want that. But additionally, you have a kind of dressed down look because you're not wearing like that shiny worsted wool, you know? Yeah, okay. Mustache goals, though? Okay, that's the point I was making. I don't like the polo with jacket look. That's fine. That's fine.
So what's specific?
A Catholic school in Scotland, so they have some protections for the moment, although the SNP government's threatening to remove some of those protections. But my other two school children are taught in England things that I don't want them to be taught, and at an age I don't want them to be taught. That relations, that gay relationships are exactly the same and as normal as a mum, a dad, and kids.
Notice how even a guy who's as out and about reactionary as this still has to couch his language in weaselly reactionary words. Like earlier he said, well, it being normal doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. And then he's, oh, but some normal things are less normal. You know, you don't want people teaching you about redheads in school because they're less normal than blondes or brunettes. Like, no, it's like the answer here is because he thinks they're degenerate. Like, that's the reason why. But, yeah.
I want my children to be taught that the normal.
See, like again, this is degenerate. When reactionaries say normal, what they're talking about is the degeneracy line.
In Britain, in society across the world, is a mother, a father, and a family. I want them to be taught that there are gay people in the world and that they must be treated with respect and affection as I treat my own gay friends and colleagues with respect and affection. But I don't want my children to be taught that these things are equal, because I don't believe them to be equal.
In what way are they not equal? And then he's going to be like, well, gay couples can't have children. And then it's like, okay, are the schools teaching these children that gay couples can biologically reproduce? And then he'd be like, because it only takes 2 follow-up questions to completely like shut down this line of argumentation, you know? Trump Media's accounting firm charged with massive fraud. Nice! Can't stop, won't stop. Ugh. I'm sorry, I can't focus for shit, man. The fucking... The college campus stuff has really got me in a negative sort, you know? I feel like things feel pretty hopeless right now. It's very frustrating. You know, the existence of these protests is good, and I genuinely feel like they'll prevail. It's just in the immediate sense, like the negativity, you know. I need to play some video games. Not right now. I mean, like game streams. That's the whole point of game streams, you know. The whole point is to, like, relax. Hey, listen, this has been a really big stream in terms of, like, content covered, and also a decent number of people have been here. If you've enjoyed the stream, please consider liking and subscribing, though the liking isn't as important now because I'm going to be ending stream shortly, though I have to read donations. The reason why I am cutting it a bit short today is because I was supposed to not stream at all today. The only reason I'm streaming today when I have a D&D game soon is, you know, I normally take 1 day a week guaranteed off for the D&D game because I do other stuff with my friends. But I streamed yesterday and I didn't read my donations, so I thought I'd stream today, and then more stuff happened and blah, 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 blah. Right. So I'm going to read donos, and I'll be streaming tomorrow as well. So, like, I'm going to continue to keep the line going. Already played it somewhat too. All right. Let's read some donos. Oh wait, really quickly, since I already kind of wasted your time with a little bit of it, I just wanted to show you really quickly, if I may, some of the items that have released for Buck Mason's summer line. I gotta say, I am delighted. I've got to say. 5 minutes. Look. First of all, a lot of linen. There's this wonderful linen work shirt right here that I just think looks stellar. I love this. I love, well, because linen, there are a lot of bad linen weaves, you know? I think this looks really, really nice, personally. They've got it in a light blue as well, which looks like chambray, but it's linen, huh? Breeze cotton? Cotton linen blend, sorry. Not just linen. One of the reasons why it looks so structured. I like these shorts quite a bit. I like that they have a pleat. Pleated shorts look really cool. Look, they've got a herringbone kind of line here, see? I think that looks really nice. Get your ass out. Let's see. I have these. Oh, yes! Linen hopsack carry-on jacket. Look at this beauty. Look at this thing. It's an unstructured jacket. It's not a proper suit jacket. It's not meant for formal. But it has a wonderful, like, look at the rounded shoulder here. Like a really, really, look at how much it masculinizes this figure, even though this man is quite old and skinny. No offense to him. I just mean, like, look at what a broad figure it gives, you know? That looks really nice. I like that quite a bit. Herringbone twill full saddlebag. I like this driver's jacket. Oh yeah, there are these banded sweater t-shirts that I care for. Shoes. I like the jungle jacket, but I've shown that on stream before. Oh, they have some corduroy shorts. I've got to try these on at some point, though I have no idea if I'll like them. Corduroy shorts, you know? Does Buck Mason sponsor you? They might as well at this point. Don't look at the $45 tank tops, okay? I'm sure they're very well made. Oh, swim trunks. That's right. Yeah. I got their deck shoes recently, and they're amazing. Aren't they? I have 2 of them. They're so nice. Long sleeve polo. Indigo dipped. The indigo dipped stuff looks really nice. I'm wearing their indigo dipped Henley right now. Oh, seersucker. Look. How rare is it? How rare is it to see seersucker fabric? Look at the puckering on that. Do you see that? That's what the fabric is. That's not like a texture that's woven into it. That is just what the make of the fabric is. Why is the jungle jacket so expensive? This stuff is good. Is Buck Mason good for fat, tall guys? They're not the most accessible brand for people who are heavier, but I don't think they're terrible about it. Oh, and they invented a reddish shirt. The first of theirs. They also have these drop needle rib pocket tees. Look at this. I've never seen anything like this. Isn't that interesting? I would have to see if this looks good on me. I'm not sure. I'd have to see, you know. And then they have board shorts from Japan. Cargo pants. And I think that does it for the new summer stuff. Indigo dipped quarter zip. This looks really good. And then these are the deck shoes. Okay. Infuriating message from Colombia. God damn it, no. I'm going over it tomorrow. No. God damn it. I was just about to go. Fine. All right, 3 minutes of this bitch. We can do this.
These past 2 weeks have been among the most difficult in Colombia's history. The turmoil and tension, division and disruption have impacted the entire community. You, our students, have paid an especially high price. You lost your final days in the classroom and residence halls.
You took them.
For those of you who are seniors, you're finishing college the way you started, online.
You took them. You
No
took
matter
all
where
that.
you stand on any issue, Colombia should be a community that feels welcoming and safe for everyone.
So the goal here, it seems, is like to pretend that all the protesters were outside agitators and that, you know, they're just like a pesky inconvenience and everything that happened in accordance with that was entirely the fault of them.
We tried very hard to resolve the issue of the encampment through dialogue. Many people who gathered there were largely peaceful and cared deeply about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
And yet,
Academic leaders talked with students for 8 days and nights.
and joined them.
University made a sincere...
This is a lie, by the way. They were trying to get the cops to remove them even earlier than they actually did. The Colombia, she specifically, was on the line with the cops way earlier, and if it was up to her, the crackdown would have been earlier too.
Sincere and good offer, but it was not accepted. A group of protesters crossed a new line with the occupation of Hamilton Hall. It was a violent act that put our students at risk.
No, it wasn't.
As well as putting the protesters at risk.
No, it didn't. I mean, in the sense that you called the cops on them, sure.
Through the building and saw the damage, which was distressing.
There's this funny video of her looking like she's mourning a dead pet, walking by like a building with a little broken window on the door, you know? Like she looks like she's in mourning and it's like this little shattered, you know.
But despite all that has happened, I have confidence. During the listening sessions I held with many students in recent months, I've been heartened by your intelligence, thoughtfulness, and kindness. The ones that impressed me the most were those who acknowledged that the other side had...
Colombia's operating revenue for the last fiscal year was $6.2 billion. I think they'll survive the broken window. Billion.
had some valid points. We need more of that at Columbia. Every one of us has a role to play in bringing back the values of truth and civil discourse that polarization has severely damaged.
That a police crackdown I ordered has severely
Here at Columbia,
damaged.
Parallel realities and parallel conversations have walled us off from other perspectives. Working together, I know we can break down these barriers. As many of you know...
What a fucking piece of shit. Nobody's going to buy this. Nobody's going to buy this.
I was born in the Middle East. I grew up in a Muslim family with many Jewish and Christian friends.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, right here. Columbia University President Minook Shafiq walks past a damaged door while visiting Hamilton Hall on campus. Police arrested nearly 100 people after demonstrators occupied the building overnight on Monday. In a statement today, Shafiq writes, "I know I speak for many members of our community in saying this turn of events has filled me with deep sadness." Always with the passive language, even for herself. She wanted the cops to come in, you know? "It fills me with deep sadness that the hundreds of NYPD officers who came in, you know, at my request, did the thing they did, you know?" Yeah, the door isn't even damaged. Jesus Christ.
I spent 2 decades working in international organizations with people from every nationality and religion in the world, where if you can't bridge divides and see the other side's point of view, you can't get anything done. I learned from that experience that people can disagree and still make progress. The issues that are challenging...
This is fucking wretched, man. Nobody is going to buy this. Like, literally nobody. Not the students, not the administration. This is just going to be met with, like, universal condemnation. Clearly, we here have a yet another powerful and wealthy person who has no fucking idea how despised she is and how unconvincing she sounds, you know?
Challenging us, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, anti-Semitism, and anti-Arab and anti-Muslim bias have existed for a long time. And Columbia, despite being a remarkable institution, cannot solve them single-handedly. What we can do is be an exemplar of a better world, where people who disagree do so civilly, recognize each other's humanity.
Remember? Liberal, moderate wing of fascism for the 50th time, remember? Mm-hmm. The only violence that was conducted here was when the cops you called in cracked down on the students. You were the ones that canceled the classes. You were the ones that escalated everything. But you blame the protesters for it.
And show empathy and compassion for one another. We have a lot to do, but I am committed to working at it every day.
Do you think she
and with
genuinely
each of
believes what
you
she says? No.
To rebuild community on our campus.
This doesn't come across as even remotely sincere. No, I don't believe she believes it at all. Yeah, this is going to be met with like rampant condemnation. All right, that was great. That improved my mental, thanks. All right, time to read donos. Woo! Olympians, Blunder, Shaky09, thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No Wonder, thank you for the $5. Thought you might appreciate seeing my 13-week-old canine baby. I would if your link worked. Finish Theologian, thank you for the tier 2 sub. And Trump's Lady Lumps, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Very much appreciated. Dirk Gently and XLR, thank you for the tier 1 subs. That's very, very kind of you. Enjoy your resubmission of Workplace Union membership. Appalachian Anarchist, thank you for the $5. Trump's Lady Lumps, thank you likewise. Really? Trump's Lady Lumps? That's horrible. Messagoian NPC Porky, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Really appreciate that. Pothos Queen, thank you for the $5. My friend is at the PSU protests, and last I heard from her this morning is that PPB was raiding and I haven't heard much. Ugh. Yeah, don't worry. We'll cover it all as best as I can. Exalted Abyss and Homeless Emo 4, thank you for the tier 1 subs. I'm very happy to hear that I can bring you any joy and comfort, Homeless Emo, even with how rough things have been lately. Savage Boredom, thank you for the $2 $5 donos. Sorry, $1 $5 dono. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for the reverse gift. Minescent and Native American White Boy, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Quoteth and Not a Pseudonym, thank you for the $5. Do you think Dungeon Meshi is worth reading? Yes. Versus waiting for the rest of the anime to come out? Yes. Do both. Kane111, thank you for the $5. Shivers, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Corsnor, thank you for the 5. Excuse me. My issue with the format is more the dipshit reactionaries come out and saying, this is why we don't like trans women in women's bathrooms, small issue. I don't think there's much of an overlap at all between the man versus bear discourse and people being transphobic or trans-exclusionary in women's restrooms. Conservative men love to promote the idea that men are dangerous, but only in like a you need us to protect you kind of way. That's why conservative men don't like the man versus bear rhetoric, because that reframes it as women being justly wary of men, something that ostracizes men and makes them feel uncomfortable. Basically, conservative men like talking about how men are violent, but only in a braggadocious way, or if they can use it as an implicit threat. Not if acknowledgement of it is something that women or feminists do to sort of like, you know, call attention to this issue. So I don't really think that the ones who are saying, you know, man versus bear, whatever, I don't think that's applying to trans people, and I haven't seen it be applied in that way. Nuts, thanks the tier 1 sub. Wide people happy. Yourself. Sake, thanks the 5 tier 1 subs. I have to do my duty tonight. You know, I've got a big context video for that now, though it barely covers everything, honestly. Good luck, Sake. Godspeed. I'm your greatest advocate. Taz the Thinker, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Big Cheese Wheel, thank you for the tier 2 sub. I haven't seen either of the recent Kong vs. Gorilla movies. Jack Derrida, thank you for the $5. I might try to code a debate platform where one side is always muted and the speaker hits button to hand over mic based on chess timers. Interested? I mean, you're free to do it. I'm not going to do that. If I want to talk to someone, I'll just bring them on stream. And I barely want to talk to people anyway, but it could be fun. Nino of Gay Skull, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Appalachian Anarchist, thank you for the $15. Look, guys, it's bleak. Our goal is to keep Cheeto Man out, help channel this youth energy. Appalachian Anarchist, you're not dispelling the lib energy by saying Cheeto Man. And help channel this youth energy in a productive direction instead of doomering. PV 2024. Yes, I think we're doing a PV thing tomorrow. We'll have to have one of them on and talk about it. Thank you. Comrade Champ with the $5. Check these sick boots. Yeah, these look nice. I don't know anything about the quality of their construction. Taft clothing, it's nice. Some of these I certainly like more than others. But I think some of these look quite good. Sucks to suck, deep sea fishing. Croc Goblin, thank you for the $5. This might improve your mood. It probably won't. Oh, yes, I saw that the Post-Millennial had their email list hacked, and we'll go over that tomorrow. That's also on the list. Members go up. Thank you again for the insanely kind 500 Tier 1 subs. That's... Sorry, not 100 Tier 1 subs, which is $500. Thank you very, very much. I really, really appreciate that, seriously. A lot more orange names in chat. Honestly, I'm a little worried, you know. Too many Tier 1 subs, and there's not going to be any white names left to purge, you know. That's bad for business, you see. I don't know. One day, Cappy. Oh, that's right. I was clicking this button. Benjamin, thank you for the $5. Poppycorn, thank you for the $20. Geopolitics, that's pretty true. Still Alive and LH Fruit, thank you for the 5 both. I really appreciate that. Oh yeah, LH Fruit, I probably shouldn't have banned you for a week. What was your full name? Unban low-hanging fruit? Like that? Was that it? It'll say they've been unbanned even if they haven't been. Like if it's not a real... Yeah, I don't know if that actually did it. Oh, whatever. Life will find a way. Benjamin, thanks the $20. The veil of fascism has fallen over Vosh's mute button. That's true. Hey, at least it's not a ban. And thank you for the additional $50. Thank you very, very much. Muted for the intermission where everyone is chatting. Vosh really does want me to stay annoying and friendless. Hey, listen, okay, I'm banishing you to YouTube chat intermittently so you have the opportunity to interact with more people and diversify your social skills. Would you mind? Thank you. Thank you very much. Sit Down, Son, and Fleabag Kitty, thank you for the 5 both. I'm 5 months on HRT and older men have been getting more and more creepy towards me at work. I'll take the bear, thank you. Sorry about that, Fleabag Kitty. Trinity, Massey, and Benjamin, thank you for the 5 both. We need a Juan Guy emote. We kind of do, yeah. Juan Guy and Jice, I think. I'll have to find a way. Still Alive and Oliver Bleich, thanks the 5 both. Really appreciate that. Asman is not a Trump guy or a fascist. He's actually smart in many ways, and he's humble in admitting he doesn't know politics. Change his mind. Okay, well, we'll see if that can happen. On a side note, is it just me, or is Hasan practically always eating in every clip on YouTube I see him in? It makes sense. Dude works out, and he's like 6'3", right? Like, he probably needs a lot of calories to maintain, even just to, like, maintain, you know? And he streams a lot. Miguel Andrej Milnar, thank you for the €5. If Biden wins because of the popular vote, because of the NP Vic, he gets 209. Michigan only 270. Win in Wisconsin, but we'll see how it goes. Ayub, thanks the $2. The Willinator, thank you for the $20. Meridian, Mississippi public offices were closed on April 29th for Confederate Day Memorial. Yep, you go down to Mississippi, a lot of them motherfuckers are just open Confederates, like unambiguously, you know? Jade Appen, thank you for the $2. And Zellerheth, thank you for the $20. Thank you. Hello, Vosh. Just wanted to say thanks. Your debates against tankies have inspired me to read Marx's work. I've got the Manifesto and Das Kapital, Part 1 on the way. Do you recommend any other Marxist works I can read? Well, by Marxist, do you mean from Marx? Because Das Kapital is pretty well encompassing there. You know, if you want a little bit of historical context, I feel like you could probably benefit from State and Revolution, as long as we're talking about like Marxist works. But outside of that, I think some of the best and most convincing texts that I've read portions of, or at least essays from, have been like Bakunin or Kropotkin or whatever. You know, I think like the anarchist critiques tend to land pretty well, even as applied today. Though they do tend to get up their own ass a bit. But you know, who doesn't, right? Capitalist realism is also very good. Okay. I love you guys very much. I am going to send you over to... Yeah, I'm going to do Hasan again. It's relevant to what we've been covering. I want you all to be inundated with a non-stop drip feed of leftist critique of campus protest crackdowns. I'm doing the a lot. It's kind of contagious, you know, from that one fucking shut IDF cop advisor guy. Got it in my head. Okay, where the fuck is the button for Hasanabi? There it is. There it is. Campus. True. He ignored the raid last time. Yeah, that's to be expected. Well, you think he's going to acknowledge it and cause like 50 years of discourse by saying like, thanks, Vosh. Come on, just be cool over there, all right? We're all banned there, though? Yeah, well, you'll live. Toxanum, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. In these dark times, I offer everyone Levy in her dapper leaf hat. Vosh, how would you rate it? I think that her hat looks wonderful. I think it's very appropriate to the formality of the outfit as well. You know? All right. I'm sending you guys over. Thank you again. I love you all very much, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay? There's always more politics to cover, especially now. Take care.